right, I got a reflex for you. Let's react. Okay, so without further ado, let's introduce tonight's topic for you. Now, this one comes to us from this channel called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Not sure, I do not recommend it. I'm not technically sure how good they are at what they do. I often refer people to instead the business. Um, because this host makes a couple of errors and he asks some dumb questions too, which I'm going to skip over. But he doesn't read the situation properly. I guess he tries to do his thing. I'm talking about the channel's host. But better than me explaining it, I'll explain it in real time. So you have Becky and you have Dustin. These two lovebirds linked up. He's in North Carolina, she's from California, so you already know this is not going to end well. So she moves over to him in North Carolina because she wants to be with them and try to get married. The caveat, she's 42. So yeah, she's one of those older women looking to get married in her 40s. Um yeah, that's a hard feat to conquer, especially today. I she talks about later how she relates actually this relationship. She's basically been trying to search for and recreate the relationship that her mother and her father had, and I'll touch on that as we get to it. I don't want to spoil that just yet. But of course, fair use. I'll put the link to the video so you can go watch it, of course. But let's get in.
4 years.
Okay. How serious is this on a scale of 1 to 10?
10?
I feel like I've just kind of gotten to the point because I had to get here with some other issues where it was just like, I have a choice to make. I can either be with him and accept that he takes longer than I like to do things, or I cannot be with him.
Ding, ding, ding. Now, that actually recycles throughout this video, and that actually brings me to the first thing that I want to talk about. They're not going to say it in this video. The host isn't going to say it in this video. She's definitely not going to say it in this video. And Dustin, for whatever reason, is not going to say it in this video. So I'm going to say it instead. She is trying to pressure him into marrying her. She is trying to do what most women, especially once they're well past their prime, she is not the most attractive female. Not my cup of tea. But Dustin said, hey, this does it for me. So be it. And what she just said there, that's a shaming and or guilting tactic. Um, actually, no. Actually, that's not even that. I'm sorry. That was my error. That's not even shaming or guilting. No. She does a lot of that. I'm sorry. She does a lot of that in this video, and we'll get to that very shortly. No, that's just a straight up what women tend to do. She's trying to run the bargain up, and she's trying to floss leverage that she does not have. And she does this numerous times in throughout the video, and I'll bring it up as she does it, but she's constantly in this state of and all women do this. She's all constantly in this state of, okay, if I'm going to be here, I want such and such and such. Obviously, she wants to be to extravagate some benefits, get some benefits out of this. So obviously what women tend to want once they get old in age, they tend to want to move towards marriage because they want to lock something down and get guaranteed benefits and also exploit the relationship. That's the one thing they won't say, but yeah, they're absolutely trying to exploit the relationship. And uh she's past, she's 40. She's not looking to have more kids or none of that. So she's essentially just trying to get taken care of. And I know what you guys are saying. I know what you females are definitely saying, like, oh my god, you just putting words in her mouth. Oh no, she's gonna say it pretty much herself throughout this video, and we'll get right into that. But no, that's essentially her trying to floss some leverage she doesn't have. Either take me or I can go and I can leave. And the only thing she's not really saying, even though I'm pretty sure she's probably said this to him, she's probably she's not gonna do it on here. She's smart enough not to do it on this video, but I'm pretty sure when they're in private, in addition to her saying some of the things she says later on in the video, she probably also refers to, oh, there's these other guys I was dealing with, and all of them wanted me to, and I chose you over all of them, blah 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 blah. Absolutely lying. But what she's trying to do is pressure him into marrying her. That's why she said that. That's why those words she said, yeah, they came with a little bit of hostility because she's like, hey, if you don't marry me, I'm out of here.
I feel like I've just kind of gotten to the point because I had to get here with some other issues where it was just like I have a choice to make. I can either be with him and accept that he takes longer than I like to do things, or I cannot be with him.
Absolutely. That is her choice. She can absolutely leave. But there's a reason why she isn't leaving. Okay. Dustin is her best option, despite now she will never say that, but she might try to do it to blow his ego up. That's the best she'll do with that. But Dustin is her best option. That's why she literally moved all the way across the country for him. Now, I'm gonna dive into this, but obviously she's trying to pressure for marriage. Um, she does do a bit of the guilting, if I can get to that as well. We're gonna skip past some of this.
Like we kind of talk about it, but then we can't really come to a conclusion. So then we just stop talking about it. I just feel like this pattern has either be with him and accept that he takes longer than I like to do things, or I cannot be with him.
Now, pay attention as she says this. I'm gonna talk about it when she says it, but she does a lot of trying to frame stuff here, and just pay attention. Now, Dustin, for the most part, he's got a little bit of stuff he's not saying as well, but at the same time, it's something that doesn't need to be said, and I'll explain later. But he doesn't actually have too much deception going on here that I'm reading. It's pretty much like straight up, and she already kind of knows what the deal is, but she's just upset she's not getting her way. That's really what it is. She doesn't have enough leverage to force him to pretty much overlook all his boundaries and restrictions and disciplining, because he himself is actually a divorcee. So he's actually been here, done that, and he's like, yeah, I'm not getting fucked over again. So he has his boundaries, and she's upset because he's not willing to forego said boundaries. That's actually the first red flag. Always look out for a person. This isn't just for the females, but anybody that wants you to forego your boundaries and doesn't respect your boundaries. You have your boundaries for a reason. So I'm just letting you know that personally. You have your boundaries for a reason. And if someone's trying to make you forego them and rush you, that's a red flag. And by all means, pump the brakes. Absolutely. Now let's continue so she can say uh, her next red flag, actually. Forgive me, YouTube's messing with me. This thing was literally just running just fine, and now it just wants to act up.
And what did you decide?
I'm still here. It's just that
So yeah, obviously, you see how she did that little nervous, giddy laugh. Obviously, she's still there because, like I said, Dustin's her best option.
we have talked about combining and like taking this next step forward, like, combining our finances, getting married, doing the things. And we kind of talk about it and we agreed that end of this year we're going to do it. But when we try to come up with like what is that going to look like, we kind of talk about it, but then we can't really come to a conclusion. So then we just stop talking about it.
And wrong. That's the next red flag. She's just straight up lying here. Now, what she's trying to say is, we kind of now obviously, like I said, she's trying to pressure him into getting married, but the thing is, she has little to no leverage to get him to do that. And Dustin's actually, I give him kudos for at least not being pressured into doing something that he himself knows isn't favorable. So kudos to him for withstanding it. But obviously, she clearly has no leverage here. Now, one thing that she did just say, if you caught it, this is another thing that women tend to do that I've also noticed in my relationship. And again, for some reason, I guess every time I pause this thing, YouTube's gonna make it buffer. So this is kind of YouTube's way of fucking with me, because obviously it was just now working. It was just working before I got on here. This is a recording, so it's not like I'm using up a lot of bandwidth or nothing like that. I literally have a gigabyte of speed, so I have more than enough speed for this. So this is just YouTube messing with me right now, because I literally just watched a movie and everything. I love how they like to mess with me. Oh yeah, they're messing with me pretty good today. Look at this crap. YouTube, amazing YouTube. Like, look, it's not even, it doesn't even have to buffer. It's literally already loaded. You can literally see the video that I literally just paused is already loaded there. It's loading more, and I literally just paused it where it already played. So there's no reason for it to be doing this at all. My internet's working. It's running just fine. This is just YouTube fucking with me.
Come up with like, what is that going to look like? We kind of talk about it, but then we can't really come to a conclusion. So then
Pay attention to what she's saying. We kind of talk about it, but we can't really come to any conclusion. Watch this.
we just stop talking about it.
We just stopped talking about it. No, you just stopped talking about it. Because one of the things that happened with me in my relationship is whenever we got into I don't even want to call it an argument, because one of my things is I've learned not to argue with women. So instead, obviously, in my relationship, my spouse will want to get in an argument because that benefits women. Women thrive in the chaos. They want to get you emotional. They want to get you to say something so that she can either say something harmful to her, so then she can pity you and guilt you into doing what it is, be like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, that type of thing. Or it tends to work in their benefit. No matter what you say or do, they always tend to make it go towards a way where it's essentially a fait accompli. It's like once you engage in the argument, it's already a done deal. Like no matter what happens here, you can absolutely be completely 1000% correct. It's just going to end with shouting on her part, because you shouldn't be shouting. I don't shout. I don't yell. I didn't yell when I was arguing. If I just said it what it was, and whenever something crazy would happen, like she would get emotional, which she does get emotional in this video, and I'm saying this from experience, what I had to deal with my wife and my ex. So she would get emotional. She would always want to, try to do this thing where she would start some sort of argument about something and bring up, it's okay for her to bring up old stuff, but it's not okay for you to bring up old stuff, you know, obviously, because she wants it to all be focused on her benefiting from the situation. So that it's never fair ever. Um, But what tends to happen is once it goes down, once you're like, because he doesn't look like the type to argue. It's like whatever he says, his word is bond. Similar to me, like that. It's it. Like I already told you what it is. Like obviously the gaslighting and stuff. She's probably done a lot of stuff where like if he says something, she knows what he means, but she'll try to reframe it to be like, oh well, you didn't really say it like that. But then again, he's like, no, actually I did, and then that's when she'll want to walk away from it. So the only moment it really stops is when she's frustrated because he's not getting emotional and she's not getting the outcome from said disagreement that she desires. Therefore, what tends to happen is when the females can't figure out a way to steer it, steer the argument in their favor, then they kind of just give up and walk away. It's very rare. For me, it was when I wanted to record the relationship, the arguments, because I had a rule. I think I talked about this. My spouse would actually argue so much and say and do shit within that argument, and then she'd try to go back and change what she had said during the argument. Like, hey, you told me you're gonna do that, and then she'd be like, no, I didn't. I said this. And I'm like, no, you didn't say that. And then right then and there, that literally just sparked a whole new argument, which is what she wanted. So what I actually started doing was, okay, hey, every time you come to me and we have a disagreement or you want to try to start this argument stuff, I would pull my phone out and start recording. And I actually said, I think I talked about this in a earlier video. every time every time that happened, like she could come with me and she's 1,000% ready to get into argument. As soon as I pulled out my phone and pressed the record and put it right in front of both of us, she'd walk away. She'd be like, oh, whatever. And then she'd walk away. That's what my spouse would do because she knew she couldn't do the whole gaslighting thing or the tactic wouldn't benefit her. Because even if she lost that argument, she could then later just say, the outcome was different and gaslight me. So that's what it was for me. So she's not going to say that, and for whatever reason, Dustin's not going to say it because Dustin's just he has some communication issues. She's obviously college. He's like high school, so that's actually going to play into some of the shaming and whatnot she has because she actually talks down to him later in the video. But let's continue. Again, YouTube. Forgive me, folks. This is just YouTube. I literally just paused it. You can see right here, it's already buffered that much video. There's literally no reason for YouTube to be doing this crap.
Combining our finances, getting married, doing the things. And we kind of talk about it and we agreed that end of this year we're going to do it. But when we try to come up with like what is that going to look like, we kind of talk about it, but
Of course, another thing is the vagueness. The host does ask her to be more specific at a certain point. He has a couple of good moments, but for the most part, some of the stuff he says and does is like questionable, especially later in the video when it comes to this truck that Dustin bought. He unknowingly sides with Becky here, the host. Jesus Christ, YouTube. Seriously, man?
if we're just going to continue down this like road of parallel lives, I'm missing out on a lot. I have elderly parents. They live in California. My family's in California. My friends are in.
Now, this is her guilting him. Now, mind you, she moved from California over to where Dustin is because Dustin has his own place. She doesn't have to pay rent. Dustin laid the groundwork. He said, hey, all you have to do is pay for this. He talks about this later in the video. But I want to break down what this actually is right here. She's trying to frame it like, she gave up so much. People, and then on top of that, later in the video, she's actually going to talk about how she frequently flies back home and stuff, which is actually one of the reasons why why she racks up expenses and stuff. Because eventually, what the problem is with this relationship is she wants marriage, she has no leverage to get it, and she's financially irresponsible. And Dustin's pretty much like a golden goose to her. That's essentially what the dynamic is. That's the breakdown. That's like me like telling you what it is. The host, however, for whatever reason, I mean, I don't know who this guy is. He's actually very questionable because he says some things when Dustin talks about his business and him purchasing the truck. He says some things that actually I'm like, okay, if you're supposedly a millionaire or something like that, or you're rich yourself, which obviously a lot of these internet gurus on here faking. He says some stuff that are very suspect to me also. So that's why I said I can't recommend him nor his advice. But this is her guilting him. Now, I do want to, while YouTube's fucking with me, I do want to say something real quick. Now, I live in the same city as my family, but I work a lot. So my family literally contacts me the same way they would if I was across the country, text and phone call. So that's like 85 to 90% of the contact I have with my family. Now, obviously on holidays and stuff, I can travel and go see them easier. But even if I was across the country, if I really wanted to see them for the holidays, I would still travel to go see them. So even if I was living in California, I literally wouldn't see my mom and them as often as I would be as I am now. Because I talk and text to them, however frequently, maybe once or twice a week. But I literally only see her maybe once a month, maybe. You see what I'm saying? So it's not like, how much time are you spending with your folks? Which is why this whole tactic that she's doing, trying to guilt Dustin or make him feel bad. Like, oh, like what she's trying to do is she's trying to run up her leverage. Like, hey, I sacrificed all this already. Therefore, I shouldn't have to sacrifice. How much more do I need? She's making it seem like she really sacrificed a lot. And I'm like, she literally says later in the video, wait, hold on. You actually still travel to go see your folks frequently, apparently, because it's enough to run up a couple thousand worth of debt. And you're not really, you can talk to them and text them nonstop. Like, like, what are you talking about? Like, what life were you really leaving, even though you're the one that chose to leave it? You see what I'm saying? And mind you, she's in California. So cost of living is astronomical out that way. It's infamous. I literally have to refresh it just for Google to stop messing with me. Literally.
And like, we're going to do this thing because if not,
Okay. Let me do something real quick. I'm going to see if this helps because they are messing with me so much. I do have some other tabs, even though they weren't playing anything. I'm going to close them out. I literally have no other real devices other than my phone connected. I have a gigabyte of speed, people. So that's why I'm like, this thing has been working flawlessly up until I press record on this video. And this actually happens frequently. The same thing happens on my phone. I think I've actually been hacked. But every time I pull up StreamYard and YouTube, my phone literally disconnects from the internet. I'll have full bar service and it disconnects from the internet. So for whatever reason, it seems like the same thing is happening with my laptop. Whenever I have StreamYard and YouTube up, it like triggers something for it to mess up.
life, then I have to rethink why I'm here.
Fair use.
And what does rethink some things mean? I feel like that's a word or
This
a
is where he
phrase
asked
that
me
we're
to be
not
specific.
really being specific about.
I mean, rethink if this is the right relationship for me.
Okay.
No,
I
that's
not
her
only
swinging
live
that
in
stick.
Dustin's
No, that's her swinging that stick.
life, but also on Dustin's timeline. When he's ready to do things, that's when we do
Correct.
things. We couldn't be in a committed relationship until Dustin was ready to do that. We couldn't move in together until he was ready. We
Correct.
couldn't say I love you until he was ready. It
Correct.
feels like I am in a position where one, I am
She lacks
having to
power.
prove myself, like that I'm
Yes.
worthy of being a
Yes.
partner, that I have to prove that I can show him that I can be responsible with money in order for him to want to build a life with me.
Yes.
Things that I want or I feel are important maybe don't get done or happen because, you know, he has the money.
Now that latter part, I had no problem with what she just said. Absolutely. The ball is in his court. She literally just said everything that I said earlier. She has no leverage. The ball is in his court. Whatever he says goes, pretty much. Now, I'm not saying he's essentially the dictator, but at the same time, she does have her ways of getting what she wants. Absolutely. And she knows that, but she's pretty much laying it out flat, similar to how I would. Like, yeah, it's pretty much like whatever he wants. Like, yeah. But the thing is, remember what she wants. She wants marriage because she wants those guarantees, and she also wants the ability. If it doesn't work out for whatever reason, because I honestly don't. For whatever reason, I don't believe she'll. Yeah, I don't believe it'll work for too much longer because their personalities and everything just don't match at all. So she's trying to force the situation because he's the probably the only golden goose that she can get a hold of. He's that last train leaving that JB talks about. And she's upset because she can't swing that stick hard enough. You remember how he told her to be specific about what you're talking about there, and she said what I said. She's pretty much threatening to leave if she doesn't get what she wants or if she can't get what she wants. But the thing is, she also jokingly said, "Well, but I'm still here," earlier. Because she has no better option. Dustin is her best option. She understands that.
It's a lot of courage to say. I know it can't be easy. And I suspect from the way you said it that you've probably thought about it a lot. So thank you for opening that up to me. Say that.
I've kind of already knew most of that without her saying it.
But what do you hear when she said it?
Yeah, this is why I don't like
She's
this.
upset.
I don't know why he's doing stuff like that.
I mean, I guess so the root of it would be, I guess, like we're trying to figure out how to combine finances, but when she moved in, she had a bunch of credit card debt and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, I'm going to help out. I'm going to do these things. This is all I need you to do.
Okay. Do these things means what?
Like all she had to pay for was like our groceries for the house.
You paid for everything else.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think we can somewhat agree to. I didn't pay her car payment and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I took care of all that.
Law. He told her what it was before she moved out there, and she agreed.
This credit card debt would be paid off, and I was told it was going to be like a year and a half or a year and 3 months, and it's turned into like 2 years.
And how do you feel about that, Dustin?
I'm not super comfy. I kind of figured out a lot of it where it stood here recently when we filled out the little paperwork, because I don't ask. I try not to ask, so there's not some sort of conflict.
Something
all right. So you came into this relationship, and it sounds like you talked about money early on. Like, how did he come to know about your credit card debt?
He asked her, like, really early before I moved here.
Damn. Now that is unusual. I like that. What'd you say, Dustin? You handed over a questionnaire. Fill this out.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, they're talking about potentially getting, marriage here. And he's like, all right, cool. Well, what's your finances looking like? Now, because mind you, when you marry someone, you're not just marrying them, you're marrying their debt and everything. You take on everything that your spouse has. And I'm just going to tell you right now, she is a financial wreck. He is financially, like I said, pretty much for what he is, he's a golden goose. He is financially. You'll find out later. And the host just said something suspect there. He's like, that's odd. I'm like, no, the fuck it isn't. That's not odd. No, you talk to someone, obviously, if she's attractive enough or your personality click enough or whatever. Obviously, it was a long distance relationship. But yeah, if we're going to talk about moving in and marriage, yeah, we're going to, because remember, she was trying to press her marriage. So obviously, she made it very obvious. I don't know where they met, maybe a dating site or something. But obviously, she made it clear that marriage was on the table. So he's like, okay, cool. If we're going to be considering marriage, I need to know what your finances are like. I mean, I'm just saying. That's common fucking sense. This is why I said there's not too much wrong on Dustin's part, because he cannot be more direct than he is being. Like he just can't. Now the only one that's not really being direct is Becky. She's being very deceptive. She's obviously trying to force the issue, and she herself just exclaimed what I was saying earlier. She would like to be married, but she has no leverage to force him to marry her. There's no leverage here. There's no other better bidders than Dustin. Dustin is her best option. And when you have that type of leverage, you don't let that shit go. And Dustin himself, the reason why I said he's not playing her is because he actually would like to be married, because Dustin is the type of guy where he's not trying to really compete for too much longer. He wants to go sit down. He's one of those guys. He's one of those guys. He got his job. He gonna go hire some guys to make some money for him. Dustin is actually okay with where he is right now. He could retire right now, or at least hire some folks to run his business for him right now, make the same amount of money each year right now, and just keep that going through perpetuity. Dustin right now, he is like, what Dustin is actually trying to achieve here, is he's ready to stop competing, and he just wants to go sit down. What he has right now, what he's producing right now, that's it. He's like, this is enough for me. I got my place, I want my chick, and then from time to time we go out, and that's what it is. Dustin's trying to sit down, so he's not out here trying to, speed date and be a bachelor, even though he could be. But no, Dustin's one of those guys where he actually would like to just have his chick, and he's living his life, and he's already gotten what he's gotten, and he's like, all right, obviously the wife is gonna make him do this and that, like wives always do. So, maybe the house will get some amenities and stuff like that. That's actually normal. We kind of accept that. Dustin already accepted that. He even talks about it in the video. You can go watch it yourself. But it's like, yeah, like he does expect to pay for certain things, but it's like, well, damn. We're actually going to talk about later what it is, and her price is way too high, too. That's another thing. But yeah, there's a lot of deception on her part, and to be honest, like even the host, that's why I don't like whoever this guy is, because I'm like, okay, Destin's literally laying it out there. He's being very straightforward and laying the law like you're supposed to. If shit's got serious, okay, let's talk serious, and that's what he did, and that's why I'm kind of like, who's this host guy? What the fuck is he talking about here?
And
So,
make sure you hit all
that's
those
me for a
required
loop.
fields because I need to know this information.
No need
My
to
man.
find out later.
So what was it like, Becky, hearing that? That's quite a direct, assertive set of questions. I kind of like that. How did it feel for you?
I mean, it was fine. Our first 6 months of dating was all talk. Like we were 3,000 miles apart.
Okay.
I was still living in California. He was living in North Carolina. So, I mean, questions were, it's kind of like a joke. Like we would look up these lists of questions. That's all we did. So, we were both going through some tough times. And the only reason that our relationship worked was that we were like uncomfortably honest about things from the get-go. And we were not scared to have hard conversations
Yet, here we are.
early on, really
right.
early on.
Dustin tells me that you had credit card debt. How much credit card debt did you have back then?
I had 2 loans that were like, they weren't credit cards, they were loans. They were like 8,000 and 9,000 maybe. And then I had 2 credit cards that were probably 4 and 5.
Now, notice they don't say what the loans are for. It's not student loans. So those loans or personal loans or for whatever else. So they don't talk about what those are for.
Somewhere around there.
So you had
I wish the host would've
$26,000
asked.
of debt.
I think that was about right when we.
All right.
I know she has a good career, so it
So like $26,000 worth of debt, personal debt.
doesn't scare me. There just needs to be a plan to, take care of it, I guess.
This is a conversation I've had with my friends back when we were single.
Now this is where the host, he does say something that's valid to what they're talking about here too.
If you found out the person you were dating had debt, would you be okay with it? And then naturally the question came, how much debt? What kind of debt? If it was $10,000 in student loan debt, nobody cared. If it was $25,000 in credit card debt, people definitely cared.
Yes, because that's called being smart.
For a lot of people I was talking to, they told me it speaks to a lack of control with money, maybe behavioral
Yes.
issues with money.
Yes.
Well, one thing I talk about is that if you have debt, any kind of debt, the most attractive thing you can do is have a plan and be.
Yes. And what did Dustin literally just say prior? I kind of don't want to skip back because I'm afraid YouTube might fuck it up. But Dustin literally just said, hey, is there just a plan? So the host is pretty much just reiterating
open
that.
about it. Like, yes, I have this debt. I went to school for a master's. Or when I was in.
Guess what? She doesn't have a plan. No, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I just made another error. She does have a plan. Her plan is to have Dustin pay for it. And I'll talk about that later. Oh, here we go with YouTube. So she does have a plan because later on she talks about something that relates to her own parents. And then it'll make sense as to what she's really trying to get out of Dustin. She also lies a couple more times. And I'll just point those out. So if YouTube will allow me, let me see if I can skip forward to the requirements of said deal. And again, there's no reason for YouTube to be doing this. They're just doing this just because. There's literally no reason.
Through a flat fee membership. With a fee-based advisor like Facet, your fee.
Let's see if I can skip. So now I'm going to skip to more of Dustin laying the law because he pretty much did what you're supposed to do. He's like, okay, cool. If we're going to do this, This is what needs to happen. Because remember, the ball's in Dustin's court. She literally just said that already. She has no leverage. So the ball's in Dustin's court. Whatever Dustin wants, Dustin can get. But what she wants is for Dustin to marry her. That's what she wants, obviously. Because she wants, eventually, what she wants is for Dustin to pay off the debts. But not just the debts she currently has. Oh, no, 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 no. She wants Dustin to pay off all the future debts, too. And she all but says that, if you pay attention. In her actions, what she says, and what we learn about her and how she was brought up, as well as her spending habits. Because Dustin is picking up on something that he can't, for like I said, he socially he's not that he's not as advanced as she is. Because he's just he's being honest and straightforward. She's being more deceptive, which obviously to be deceptive, you got to be more tricky with your words. So she has a bit of an advantage over him because she's probably done that all her life, i.e., she's single in her 40s. But Dustin can't word it properly, although he's already said enough. But essentially, he's picking up on her being deceptive, and he's like, okay, if I marry this chick right now, she's just gonna be a bill. Like, I'm literally gonna have to pay for all this mess that she's gonna get us into. That's essentially what Dustin's picking up on, and for whatever reason, he's making it. He's leaving the option open for marriage, even though he shouldn't. But I think that Dustin should just keep it where it's at, and that's kind of what he wants to say. He's like, "Hey, if you don't do this, like, we're not gonna get married." So he tries to lay the law, and he made it very clear, like, "Yeah, if you don't do this, I can't marry you." Then that's what it should be. But of course, she obviously because she submitted this thing towards this show, I guess.
In plan, he said, "I'll pay all of the. You don't have to pay me rent, and you don't have to pay for utilities. You just pay for groceries and all of our subscriptions.
So he laid the plot.
You just need to worry about putting your extra money on your debt."
And he told her that.
Did you?
Yeah.
All right. So here we are, X years later. What's the deal?
Now, she just lied right there. She just lied again. So the host tried to pressure her, like, to what she just said. Dustin told her what all she needed to pay for. She didn't have to pay for rent and all that extra crap like when she was over there in California. So Dustin's actually helping her out big time, pay down her debts. And when you find out how much she's actually making, she could have paid off her debts in like less than 6 months. She absolutely could have done that. She achieved it with Dustin's help and then ran the cards back up, which actually parallels to what I went through in my relationship. Paid off the credit cards debt. I actually paid off more than Dustin did, and then spouse ran the credit card right back up.
Well, in typical me fashion,
Now, did you just pick up on that? In typical just me fashion. So what she's saying is she acknowledges that she has what she's about to say right now. She has a fucking spending habit. She likes to spend money. She likes to spend money she doesn't have. Therefore, that's why she has all those debts. Dustin is trying to get her to address that because for whatever reason, Dustin would like to marry her because this is the chick Dustin has picked in his scenario. Remember I said Dustin's trying to sit his ass down? He's like, hey, I just want my chick and I want to go sit down somewhere. But Dustin's realizing, hell, if I marry this chick, I can't sit down because she's going to run up all these damn debts and bills and I got to get out here and continue to perform. So that's what's going on here. But listen to what she's about to say. So in typical just me fashion,
was paid off in January or in July. It was paid off. And then I did a job in July that I was supposed to get a pretty big check for, and I spent money before I had it. So I just put it on the credit card because I was like, oh, I'm going to get that check in September. And then that didn't come through. It still hasn't come through. It's Irish taxes or something. And then just little things, I just kind of run it back up.
How much?
7.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the 7 came from or how it goes back up. July, August, September.
now this right here lets me know something else because this is similar to what I was dealing with my spouse. She has made sure Dustin doesn't have access to to see her accounts. So he can't act like what he's saying right now. He's being genuinely honest. The only one that knows what she's spending on is her. Now, mind you, she's up here because the whole reason for them being on this podcast or whatever, because she put in for it, is to try to get them to merge their finances and then eventually get married. Because remember, she's trying to lock his ass down. But mind you, she's denying him access to look into her accounts so he can critique what her spending habits really are. So what he just said there is honest, actually, because my spouse actually did the same thing. She made a constant effort to not let me see what she was spending on.
$7,000 in like 3 months. Like,
Now, mind you, she spent $7,000 in 3 months, $7,000 worth of debt, $7,000 worth of debt that she did not have. Now she said she made up some. She came up and said there was money supposed to be coming. I mean, how many times have you heard that from someone? Yeah, so apparently there was money that was supposed to be coming, but it wasn't there yet. And then she was like, she does what women tend to do, which is, hey, I got these credit cards, so let me just. That's kind of like money, and let me go spend that.
we
She talks about some of what she spends it on too.
worked all this time to like get it paid off to go $7,000 in 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, a chunk of it was while I was in Ireland, like hotel and
Now
food and
look
all
at her
that.
body language. Look how uncomfortable she is because she's in the hot seat. She has no genuine, real answer to explain how financially irresponsible she really is. And it's just like she see how she like does that body language thing where she kind of just shrugs it off like, I mean, it's not a big deal. Like, I mean, yeah, she's pretty much trying to shrug it off because like I said, the plan here is she knows Dustin has the money to pay it all off anyway. But he's like, hey, this is your burden. You need to learn a lesson here. You're supposed to be you're supposed to be learning and being more responsible here. Therefore, you know, I can't move forward with you until you are, which is how it's supposed to be. So Dustin's actually being smart here. He's being wise here because he's been divorced before. So he's been there, done that. And of course, because he is a man, we have to learn shit through life. He's a man and a business owner, so he had to learn some shit to get to where he is. And he realizes, hey, this isn't being financially responsible. Um, it's kind of like teach a man to fish and give a man a fish. He's like, hey, I need to know that you've changed. That's essentially what he's trying to get her to do. Unfortunately, Dustin doesn't know that she's 40. She's in her 40s. She's not going to change. It's not going to change. And she'll actually talk about that. That's one of her frustrations is because she's not trying to change. What she's trying to do, again, is pressure Dustin into marrying her and taking her as she is. Debts, spending habits, and all. That's the gist of it. But she definitely plays down and makes it seem like it wasn't serious. But Dustin, I see what Dustin's trying to do. He did the same thing that I was trying to do with my spouse. My spouse wanted to get a house and everything. I said, okay, cool. Here's what we need to do. She has some credit card debts. She was not paying for them. She was like doing the minimum payment thing, and the interest charges are more than the minimum payment. So guess what? The balance was going up for the last I don't know how many months. So I said, hey, okay, look, step one, you need to pay at least this much each month. And I just gave her like a fairly small amount. Step two, we need to work towards getting a savings amount. So $5,000 is the recommended amount. I said, hey, I'm paying for all this. Now, mind you, I already had my savings. I was like, hey, this was, like I said, this was a teaching moment for me and my spouse. I needed to make sure my spouse was on board. And the only way for you to learn something is to do it. So I said, hey, I need you to do this. I did the a very similar thing Dustin did. Hey, you need to get $5,000 in your account. Now, my spouse, she was making her own money. I was paying most of the bills. She only had one obligation. I gave it to her just like Dustin did. I did the exact same thing. You only need to worry about this. I'll pay for everything else. And you need to have this much in savings. And then after you have that in savings, cool. Now we can start aggressively attacking your debts. I did the exact same thing Dustin's doing, trying to teach financial literacy. Like, hey, this step one, step two, and then we can move towards getting that house and everything. Because my spouse made it very clear what she wanted, and I was like, okay, cool. For us to do that, There are steps to get there. This is step 1, step 2. She didn't get past step 1 nor 2. So obviously it didn't go farther than that. I actually did pay off the credit cards, and I talked about that earlier, and then she ran them back up, and then she never had the 5,000 in saving. Like, she was constantly, like, buying stuff. So she never even got to the 5,000 in savings, at all. I don't even know how close it was. It was actually weird because it was like I had already did step 1 and 2, and I was moving towards buying assets, and this is a red flag for your partners as well. I had moved towards buying assets, so I was just, doing indexes, maybe a couple of REITs and stuff. I was slowly building up that, right? Because I had extra income. I already had my debts paid off. I had my savings. Okay, cool. Let me put this towards other avenues. I was even about to open up an IRA and everything. Now, I was on the advanced level. And as I was on the advanced level, mind you, I'm still with my spouse. I was relaying this information to my spouse. I let them know, hey, I'm getting into these financial instruments. I was teaching her a little bit more about it. I was teaching my spouse financial literacy. Now she had her steps 1 and 2 to do. She hadn't done them yet. I was telling her, like I was like on step 4 and 5, right? I was telling her what I was doing just to kind of, have a little teaching moment. Little did I know, she had went and skipped over steps 1 and 2, and she had opened up an IRA and everything and started like putting a big chunk of her money into like her investment account. And when I found out about that, I was like, wait a second. Okay, show me your savings. She didn't have the 5,000 in savings. I was like, okay, show me your credit card statements. She did. She still run up actually the balance had went up, I believe. So the balance was still on the credit cards. I was like, okay, why the hell are you buying this? So that's actually a red flag because long story short, I eventually what my spouse
That
was
and,
doing was she
uh,
was trying to
you
compete
know,
against me. She was trying
and
to compete
then
with me. And I was like, okay, you didn't complete steps 1 and 2 yet. You're still you went out here and bought these instruments and you haven't even completed steps 1 and 2 yet. And then long story short, come to find out, there was some contempt there. And my spouse was instead, when she was seeing what I was doing, she was trying to skip those other steps and then immediately move to like, oh well, I can do that too. That type of mindset. So that's one of those situations where your spouse is actually competing with you. It's not healthy. It's not good because obviously in my situation, it leads to bad financial decisions. Now YouTube finally wants to work again.
Do either of you feel satisfied with what just happened right there?
No.
of it. And then, the other stuff has just been flights to Yellowstone. And then a chunk of it was
Now this
the
is what she
party.
spent money on.
I thought I was going to have that money. So I was like, let me just, I really want to make this party so
The
special.
big
So let
extravagant
me
party,
splurge a little bit on this and that.
splurging,
So that was probably the biggest chunk of it. And
couple
then,
thousand,
the other stuff has just been flights to Yellowstone and
flying
flights to California
back
and,
home. Remember how she was trying to guilt him and like what she
medical
sacrificed?
stuff. And then just, odds and ends, just little things, probably
Little
me
things. She's not
just
being
spending
specific
more
here.
than
She's not
I
being specific at
have
all.
coming in and not really realizing it. Of
Can I ask a question?
course.
Do either of you feel satisfied with what just
No, this
happened
is
right
a
there?
dumb question.
No.
Becky?
Not particularly.
So can we try that again? Let's ask the questions that you really want to ask, but you have not said out loud. Dustin?
Why are we still putting things on credit cards that we're not paying off at the end of the month?
Okay.
Now,
Love
the
that
host
question.
needs to
Can I
reframe
just do a
that.
quick reframe? It's
Yes,
not
sir.
we,
You.
is it?
No.
Ask her the question again and ask it with the proper
I'm
words.
kind of neutral.
Sorry.
I understand. what
Why
he's
are
saying.
you still
He kinda
putting
said it all.
things on your credit cards that you aren't paying off every month?
But see, even that goes to like Dustin. He's trying. He unfortunately Dustin. He's kind of like doing a little bit of what I was doing. I was trying to make it a team effort, and I wasn't trying to make it seem like I was like barfing on my spouse. because it's like, okay, obviously you have all these debts, you're not doing what you need to do. But the reason why he framed it, the we part, he was trying to make it seem like I see what he was trying to do there, but the host made him be more specific. And the only reason why guys don't do that is because we understand every time we do that as guys. You remember how I said how women want to have that argument? Every time we point out the negatives as guys, women immediately maneuver into the guilting and the oh my gosh, you just make me feel like shit and that type of behavior. So that's why, Dustin's kind of picked up on that over the years, I guess, and probably with her too. So that's why he worded that way first. And now because, I guess Dustin's kind of seeing like, okay, we're on the live broadcast, so she's not gonna do her usual bullshit. So now he like reworded it because the host asked him to, and he's able to be a little more direct. So Dustin's not an asshole, despite what some people say, because he just did that. So I see what he was doing there, but there might be some folks that might think he's just a straight up asshole. But he's not. He actually comes off, unfortunately, as a fairly nice guy, but he's also stern because he's been there, done that. So he's not stupid, not at all. Even though we'll come to it when she starts trying to down him and talk down to him, and yes, she does do that, which that's a little bit of her contempt. Even look at that smile. You can even tell, like you can tell she wants to just like, because remember he's talking directly to her about one of her flaws, and you can just look at her face, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't like this." You can just look at her face, but yeah, a little bit of well, a lot of bit of her contempt starts to ooze out later on in this broadcast, if we can get to it.
Because I don't always have the cash to do
There's
all
that
the
shrug again.
things that
She's trying to be like a little
we make
girl,
plans to do
girly
in
shrug.
our life.
She likes
And I don't want to
girly.
ask you for it because I don't want to hear it.
Now
That
there we go. There we go. You see how that oozed out right there? That just she just I talk about people wearing masks. That mask just came off for a brief second. Did you hear what she just said there? You probably didn't pick up on it. But let me rewind it so you can hear that real quick.
you don't get
And then she goes into a bit of a rant on Dustin. Because mind you, everything she's saying right here, I just want you to know she's still trying to gear it towards her being a victim, and she doesn't need to be perfect, and Dustin should be okay with her. And how long does it take for him to just be okay with her, and then for them to just go get married? She's not trying to really make any changes. She absolutely is not. She's just like, okay, how long do I got to play this game until we finally just get married? Because what it is she doesn't want to waste too much time because she realizes she's only getting older. But at the same time, she's like, okay, I just need Dustin to just be okay with me the way I am, and we get married. That's literally what she's trying to do here. But if you picked up on what those words she just said right there, that was a red flag on her. She just said it. I don't want to hear it. I've heard that myself. I'm pretty sure some fellows here have heard that. You've heard that too. You say something your lady doesn't like, something that's very pertinent, like, "Hey, you need to learn how to save properly and stop overspending." And then if she replies to that, like, I don't want to hear it. Just know, yeah, this ain't going too far because she's essentially just made it known, like, yeah, that's that contempt right there. It just oozed out. The mask just popped off, and then she immediately moved to try to put it back on. But she immediately moved to try to put it right back on. Yeah, this is ridiculous. See, I see why they're doing this because it's like it's making it very annoying. Because I literally just played this video from start to finish, people, and you can clearly see where it's already buffered, like 2-3 minutes in advance, like it's supposed to be. So there's literally no reason for it to buffer. I'm gonna lower the quality, see if that helps. But watch it still do this shit, like what it's doing right now. Absolutely no reason for it to do this at all. at all. Thanks, YouTube.
Sorry. Why are you still putting things on your credit cards that you aren't paying off every month?
Because I don't always have the cash to do all the things that we make plans to do in our life.
So
And I
those
don't want
are
to
our
ask you
voices
for
going
it
up.
because I don't want to hear it.
Yep, I don't want to hear it.
That
right there.
you don't get to do the things you want to do because you have to pay for both of us, and you didn't sign up for this, and you already had that
Look at her
marriage. You're
mannerisms.
not going to do that again.
Yep.
So I just put on my credit card and figure it out later.
See right there. She's like, well, fuck it. I'm just gonna put on my credit card.
When does it
Fuck later.
stop? In my head, I was at 13
And essentially, what
months.
she just laid out
Hey,
there
we're gonna get
was,
this
no matter
paid
what
off.
Dustin says or does, she's gonna put it on the credit cards, and she's expecting him to take care of it.
What I feel is pretty good bit of money to get us and me showing, hey, I believe in what we're doing. This is me putting my effort to move us along in life. You don't have to worry about this no more. This is stressing you out. I'm in a situation.
How much money did you give?
$2,000.
$2,000, and that was a gift.
I mean, it was for a birthday.
Okay, all right.
That's what I was told she owed on her credit card.
Great. So you said, hey, you're close to the finish line. Here's $2,000. Wipe it off.
Now look at her face.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So I did that, and then to know like it's already back to $7,000, and we're here trying to join money. And
Now he said something again that also goes back to that she's hiding her finances, because he asked her how much she owed. She told him $2,000, and then he's like, well, that's what I was told, and so he gave her the $2,000. So I did the similar thing, except I didn't just ask. I looked at it, how much debt was there, and then I paid it off myself, and it was also a gift.
things like that, but you still haven't paid off your credit cards. So,
and in a similar fashion, what that is, and I can actually talk about this because I actually did what Dustin's doing here. So in similar fashion, what that is I paid it off so that, just to alleviate the stress, because you remember she was talking about stress earlier, and just look at her face. She's just like, okay, she's not trying to hear it. That's what that face is. This is actually who she is. Now, mind you, all that smiling and giggling and stuff, no, this is her. She's a 40-year-old woman. When women do that little kitty bullshit when they're trying to get sympathy and all that stuff, no, let that shit melt away. This is her right here. This is that face right there you see right there. That's her right there. That's what Dustin has to deal with day in and day out. And Dustin, for whatever reason, I guess he assumes he's getting a bargain here or a discount or something. And he's like, hey, why can't you just be my chick and be cool with it? But she's trying to be like most women out here, where she's like, nah, I want you to buy me that G-Wagon and all that shit. She's being extra. She's trying to run the price up. And Dustin's like, he's at least smart enough for now to be like, no. But I did a similar thing Dustin did here. Paid off the credit card. That was not to like, okay, cool, credit cards are paid off now. Now we move on to the next step. Let's get married. No. That's not what that is. Your debts are now paid off. Cool. Now you must keep it that way. Pay your debts off. Now you must maintain that for another year. Because what that shows is this isn't just a one-time fluke. It shows that you now have different tendencies. You've learned from your past mistakes. So that's what's not actually going to. I don't even think they say that, but essentially that's what's going on. That's what's actually stalled the thing, because she's like, okay, cool, debts are paid now. Like, let's go get married. That's her mindset. That's what she's thinking. But what he's not really saying is, okay, yeah, the debts are paid off now thanks to my help and all that. He's not even really mugging that in her face, really. But he just did a nice thing, just like I did. He was like, hey, I see, you're stressing or whatever, even though it literally wasn't that stressful once you find out how much she's actually making. It literally isn't that stressful at all. But because she's making well more than enough where she could have had that paid off in 6 months. No lie. So he's like, hey, I just chipped in the $2,000. Okay, cool. Now the debts are paid off. All right, cool. He might have said it. He doesn't say it during this broadcast, but I'm pretty sure I know because I've done it. Now this goes into phase 2. Now you must keep it that way for another year. Your credit card should be used like a charge card. It should be paid off. That balance shouldn't go up, which obviously she talks about how she failed that. She failed that part of it. She ran it up in 3 months. Literally.
Going in money or us saving money to go here, it needs to be paying off a credit card. And that should be, it's been the number one goal for 24 months at this point.
And that's literally the only holdup.
I definitely, I mean, yes,
She's
like,
looking for the
I
worst
mean,
to
you're
say.
right.
So you charge the expenses to your credit card. And what are the consequences of that action?
Well, then I feel guilty because I'm not supposed to be doing that. And we made this agreement. And then I feel
Yes.
stressed because now I have more money to pay off.
What else?
Which
Think
makes
about your
me
partner.
ask him questions.
I know that, like, that if he knew, he would be upset and disappointed.
And what about the connection between you? When you charge up your credit card again, what does it do to the connection, the intimate connection between you two?
I mean, it makes it difficult. It puts another barrier there because that's like a big deal to him.
Now, she's aware of her choices and everything. So it doesn't take him asking these questions. She's aware of all this already. Like I said earlier, she's like, okay, she's trying to still pressure Justin into marrying her. And she says some stuff later on too that apparently this guy just doesn't pick up on. But yeah, she's already aware of all this shit.
And I think we're here because, Becky, you wanted some certainty around where's the relationship going, right? Which is a totally fair question. So it seems like part of the behavior here, part of the consequences of that is that it makes the relationship less certain. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
She's about to
So
straight up lie.
have you made the connection with yourself that when I charge up my credit card and go back into credit card debt, it makes Dustin hesitant to commit more deeply to this relationship?
No, I've never made that connection.
She just straight now look at her mannerism. She reached for the tea and took a sip. She just straight up lied right there. That was a lie right there. It's like she was trying to think of something to say, but she's like, oh fuck it. I'll just say I didn't. But no, she knows. She knows exactly what she's doing. And she definitely made that connection because I think she even tells herself about it because she literally just talked about that when he just, like, if you think about it, this guy literally just asked her, what is that, the whole thought process and like her feeling guilted and stuff like that. Like she literally just went through the whole thought process. So she just straight up lied to this guy. And for whatever reason, he doesn't just pick up on it. He makes it seem like, oh, well, now we know that type of bullshit. And I'm like, no, she just straight up lied, dude.
If you're listening or watching this on YouTube,
Like she just straight up lied right there. She knows exactly what she's doing.
No, I've never made that connection.
That's a lie.
Sit with it for a minute. Tell me what comes to mind as you think about it and how you feel about that connection.
I mean, I guess I have thought about it because I've often thought.
You see how she literally just backtracked right there. She literally just that lie was so stupid because she already just contradicted herself prior to making that lie. Now, she's like thinking of the words she just said in real time. She's like, now this is another thing that women do. Y'all tend to just, blurt out some stuff sometimes. Or if you can't think of something properly to maneuver it and be your normal deceptive self, you'll just straight up and just lie. Like that's the default setting, unfortunately, for women. The default setting is literally just lie. If all else fails, just lie. That's literally the default setting. So she's starting to backtrack it. So I just want just key note that she straight up lied, and now she proceeds to now she's proceeding to backtrack.
Thought he's never gonna marry me because I'm never gonna be frugal enough, or I'm never gonna be financially responsible enough because I've always been this way. I mean,
Yep.
this is so.
You see there? She's always been that way. So that means, I guess when she was younger and more spry, guys would still want to fuck with her. But now she's older, as women tend to find out, all your flaws that stay there and remain, guys are going to be less willing to fuck with you. Not to mention, they never talk about whether or not she has kids or whether or not she's been married. So they don't say anything of that nature.
So I guess to say I haven't thought about it is a little bit of a fib because I
Yeah, and she literally just called herself out. Like I said, she lied. She just fucking lied, and this guy right here just sat there and ate it.
have thought about it. And so I think sometimes then I go in this spiral of like, he's never going to make that commitment. He's never going to do this because I can't
She's
do
going through
this.
the
And then
thought
I get
process.
upset because I'm
Yep.
like, well, I
Like I
shouldn't.
said, she's already thought about. Now, mind you, she kind of already did this thought process a little earlier. Now she's kind of going a little more into it. But yeah, she's already thought about this, because what she's really trying to achieve is, okay, how can I make him okay with me the way I am? Because she sees he's productive and he has the money to finance things. But what she wants to do is, she's spending at a level right now, not with the money that she has. She's currently spending at a level of the money of what he can afford. That's why she ran up that 7,000 in 3 months. Now, although she could have paid it off, and there was actually no real reason, depending on what her income actually is, which we will find out later. If she's actually making that much, there was literally no reason for her to run that up and not be able to pay it off for whatever reason. But she spent that because she's with Dustin, who's paying the other bills and everything. And obviously, as we'll find out later, she's looking for her daddy because daddy used to do that for mommy, which is play Captain Save 'em and pay off the bills, and mommy would go and spend more money than she had, and daddy would step in and pay off the debts. That's essentially what it gets to. So she literally just called herself out, which that's rare for females to actually do that. She literally just said she tried to frame it as politely as possible, call it a fib. No, you just straight up lied, because that was your default setting. So I'm just letting you know this is how this woman is. So however the host wants to frame, try to maneuver this relationship, but no, this is she's trying to exploit this guy. That's what I'm getting.
Have to like prove myself or like be perfect for him to want to be with me. And
Now this is more guilting, because now she's trying to make it seem like, oh, I shouldn't have to be perfect and shouldn't have to prove myself and this and that. Now the sisterhood, all the females are clapping like, yeah, that's right. You shouldn't have to do all that and blah 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 blah. No, 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 no. That's not how this shit works. Dustin has the leverage.
but no, because that was a thing that he was very clear about. So I
Yep,
mean, I
and
guess I
she's
just
being
get in
honest
these like
about
kind
that.
of spirals about
She
it
is
and
very
probably just
clear.
end up feeling frustrated and
Now, mind you, she's not really frustrated with herself. She's frustrated. She's partially frustrated with herself, but not for the reasons you think. She's frustrated with herself because she hasn't been able to figure out how to get Dustin to just take her. That's what she's frustrated with. She's frustrated because when she did pay off the credit cards, I guess she assumed, all right, cool, I paid off the credit card debt. Great, we made it. Eventually, we're gonna get down the aisle, and then she ran it, and then she took that and was like, all right, now I can run them shits back up, because now Dustin will pay them off for me. Because mind you, he gave her the 2,000 to pay it off, and then she was like, all right, cool, debts are paid now. I just passed the test. But she didn't realize, no, that was just phase one of the test. Phase two of the test is to keep it that way for another year. And she failed in flying colors, being typical her, as she said earlier. Yeah, and don't the frustration, like I
like
said, the
it.
frustration, like, don't fall for the waterworks, guys. Dustin isn't falling for it. Actually, Dustin's being pretty stoic here. So, kudos to him again. But yeah, women always put on the waterworks and stuff when they're trying to guilt you and get you to do stuff. And I'm like, Dustin literally has no reason to marry her at all. Y'all can just be long-term relationship. I don't see any problem with that. I've known people where that was the deal. They stay together for like the last 20, 30 years of their life. There's literally no reason to get married. You aren't trying to have kids. There's no reason to get married. But the thing is, for her, she wants to be married. because she understands the benefits of being married. And remember, she's from California, which has some favorable laws. So I already know here, if they get married, guess where she's probably going to go if she wants to file divorce? She's going to take her ass right back to California to file divorce. Like I'm already seeing what's going on here, because North Carolina, yeah, some prices depending on where they're living at. Yeah, it's been built up in like Charlotte and certain areas like that in Raleigh, but for the most part, it's cheaper than California, and there would be no reason to go out that way. Actually, we have a lot of Californians here, people from New York and California and Florida moving here, where I am.
It's I don't know, like it's my fault. Like I'm not worth.
Now she's here's how they do the guilting. They tell some truth. She thinks it's her fault, which it is, and then she tries to maneuver it into that whole, oh, I feel like I'm not worth it, that type thing. Now she's not doing that because it's true. She's doing that because she's trying to make uh she's playing on that part of the male where it's like, oh no, baby, you're totally worth it. Like that's what that's the type of response she wants from Dustin. Oh, I am worth it. Well then, well, if I was worth it, we'd be married. Like I said, she's trying to maneuver it to constantly be pressuring Dustin to marry her. That's how she's trying to maneuver this.
Marrying.
Why do you feel like that? And why have you never told me that?
I guess I feel like I have told you that. It makes me, I mean, but maybe I've never said it. I guess maybe I've never said it that blatantly. And if I haven't, it's probably because I guess I was afraid if you knew that I didn't think I could change it, then you wouldn't want to be together. Like if I was worried, then you would be more worried.
Which is true, because he's made it clear, hey, there has to be some changes if we're gonna do this. And remember how I said she's trying to frame it like, hey, I just want you to take me how I am. And Dustin's like, no, we're gonna need to make some changes here. Some upgrades. Or
What's the end goal?
now I don't like how he does this after this. Or if you don't make those changes, there's no marriage.
I've always believed like I want her to be able to spend money on like if she wants to sell.
So he's essentially asking what's the end goal of the relationship, which it's already very clear. The end goal is supposedly marriage, but the thing is, Dustin's laid some ground rules on what needs to happen before they can do that, and she's failing. And all throughout her failing to get to where he needs her to be, so that he'd be okay with going down that aisle, she's constantly trying to pressure and berate him into just marrying her as she is, without all the proper work. Now, Dustin, I don't know how much due diligence he's done. He hasn't done too much because he hasn't been able. She's not giving him access to her finances, which is a red flag, by the way. But he's done at least enough to where it's like he's standing on solid footing, where he's like, hey, this is what needs to happen if we're gonna go that way. So I hope he continues to stand there. He doesn't cave in. Please don't cave in, because I already I can kind of, if she's being this deceptive and deceitful, like I already know like this is not going to end well. Don't know enough about her background to be honest. Whether or not she does have kids or none of that. But this isn't going to end well if he does cave in. That's all I'm going to say. And again, I lowered the graphics, folks, and Google still finds it necessary to mess with me. So just thought I'd put that out there. I mean, YouTube.
I probably because I got tired of asking them.
Do you mind if I read a little bit from your application? You okay with that?
Yeah.
So that's her putting in the
Have you seen this application,
whole thing.
Dustin?
No. I think she might have read it to me, but she might have like gave me the cliff notes.
She writes, my boyfriend and I have been living together for almost 2 years, and we do not know how to move forward in terms of money, and it feels to me like our relationship. Since before I moved in, I was clear that I want to change the house or not stay here. I have been patient, but in a few months, it will
I
be
want to
2
change the house or
years.
not stay here.
He will do one thing like the
So she's giving
floors and will
commands.
want a medal for that. I'm 42. This is Becky. I'm living 3,000 miles from my home, friends, and family. I need to know
Yeah.
that if I am
Because you
here,
chose
it
to.
is for something special.
Something special.
I need
That's
our
another red flag.
relationship to be special. If we aren't going to be a team, and if we aren't going to
Be
work
specific.
together
What
to
is
create
special?
something amazing,
I love these
why
vague
am I
words that
missing
women
out?
tend to use because, like, how do you define special?
Love. That is the crux of our conversation today. So do we want to talk about that now?
Yeah.
It just feels really hard because I have to wait for you to be ready for everything. I know you think the backyard is like so stupid or the house is so stupid, but I want something that feels like ours. And
Or that guilting she's doing.
I don't know. I want
You can work on it.
something that's
Now, mind you, this is on the recorded video, so
ours.
I'll let
I
you
just
know,
want to
like, how
feel
much of this
part
stuff
of
she's
it.
doing just with him.
And I don't sometimes.
Okay. I mean, I don't. So
Yeah, Dustin can't really respond to that.
it's hard
Because
for me
there's
to
not
feel
really a good
like
response.
we are building a swimming pool in the backyard when it's all of the money from my account. In a way, that's kind of hard for me to understand how it's ours, because in my theory, like if we went and bought something or we were doing something, it would be we did it. Like, not I paid for it and we enjoyed it. I mean, that's my disconnect.
I think that's why I've been wanting to like join things because I don't know how else to contribute.
Now look at how she's talking about she wants to join things. Now, mind you, she's still pushing for that marriage, but remember, she's a financial burden. So why the hell would he want to join with you? Because you haven't even done the basics. You can't even keep your credit cards low. He literally helps you pay it off, which, mind you have more than enough to pay it off within a 6 month period. He helps you pay it off anyway after about a year of struggling to do so, probably because she's not properly managing her money and spending on stuff. And even so, mind you, with reduced cost of living, by the way. So that means I don't know what the fuck she's using her money for. Jesus Christ. When you find out how much she's making, it's like, what the fuck are you using your money for? So yeah, it's just, I'm just telling you right now, it's a no-go for me.
So that you don't feel like, is it going to be that until I have $67,000 in savings? Like it's
Then
not.
she's gonna be an extra here. No, it doesn't have to be like that. Literally, lady, if you had just kept your damn credit card debt down, he probably would have married you within like maybe a year or two. Then it would have been on him. But the fact that you literally ran it up within 3 months after he helped you pay it off, and you had the money to pay it off in 6 months, but it took you damn near a year and a half to do it because you probably were mismanaging. I'm not even gonna say probably. You were mismanaging your monies. So he helps you pay it off with $2,000, by the way, and you literally run it up in 3 months to 7,000. Like, yeah, if you hadn't done that, y'all would be y'all. I would have gave it a year. Y'all would have been married probably, most likely, and maintain that. Then that's when you start doing your old bullshit. See, she's not even smart enough to do that. She couldn't even wait the full year to do it, which tells you how bad her spending habits are. Because usually what women do is they'll do what you can do, what you ask them to do. For the good ones can do it for about a year or two. The good ones, it'll seep out the longer it goes. It'll seep out eventually. It's inevitable. But oftentimes guys tend to overlook it and they'll just be like, oh, maybe she's just having one of those type of days, and they'll marry her anyway. And then that's when the flip happens. And then she goes right back to her old ways. But she couldn't even wait that long. She literally ran it up in 3 months. So that just tells you how bad her habits are.
It's not
And how
yours.
entitled she is.
When does it stop being yours, and when does it become ours?
You see, you hear that? Now, mind you, he literally just talked about how he's paying for everything. He's doing the stuff. Okay, how does it become ours? Now, mind you, she lives in the house. He's sharing it with her. Now, she talked about how she feels a certain type of way, like she feels like it's not hers, which it is not. It isn't. It's his. She's living in his house. Yes, that's actually what it is. And you're trying to become his wife, and then it becomes we. But she can't. She's failing the test. That's what the goal is. But remember, she's trying to she's trying to use leverage she doesn't have to get him to marry her. And because she realizes she doesn't have the leverage after about 2 years of this, she's like, well, fuck it. I'm using the whole black book. So now that's when she's using the whole deception, the lying, the deceitfulness, the all this guilting and this, this gas. I'm pretty sure a shit ton of gaslighting and stuff. That's just how females are. So I'm pretty sure a shit ton of that while they're just together. Of course, he's not talking about it, but I know she is, just given what she's doing already on this video. All the the body language and stuff that's happening here. Yeah, she's doing that in the home.
Like, not until I match you, because that's going to be yours. So that's what I don't understand.
I mean, for me, like if I'm financially putting the book bag on of like, oh, we want to have all these things for ourselves, like we want to build a gym so that we can have it. The gym's for you. I would be buying it for you.
Which is true. I was doing the same thing. I offered my wife that type of stuff. Hey, if you want, the waxing, the spa days, all that stuff, like, hey, that's included. If you want it, let me know. Here's the funds, put it on the books. Bam, you got it. I did the exact same thing. Like, as we're going through the process, as she's going through steps 1 and 2, that was the exact same deal I was talking about with my spouse as well. So that's why I can relate to this, because I know how it actually is with guys um, like myself, where we're actually being honest and genuine and reasonable and not being stupid. Is like, hey, like, yeah, we got to get here first. Like, there's steps to things. There's, like I said, there's a reason why he's a fairly successful in his right business owner. He's learned that there's qualities you pick up to get there, and he's learned, like, there's a process, there are steps to get there, and he's being reasonable. No, you don't have to have the same amount of savings that I have because he's more successful than she is. No, you don't have to get there. You just have to pass the goddamn steps. Make progress, meaning when you pay off the damn credit card debt, keep it that way for a period of time of his choosing, which is, I'd say, probably about a year. And she wasn't able to last a month, people.
And now it would be ours, but I would have to financially
getting this part, because she is not liking this at all. Because mind you, they're talking about her negatives, and obviously women don't like that.
Prepare all of that. And then I told you this a long time ago. We can go buy whatever house you want. And if I feel sometimes if I put a pool, build a gym, paint it, did all of it, it still would not be enough. In a way, I feel
now he's talking about her insatiability. Now, I did talk about how women are insatiable, but now he's actually starting to be like, all right, the cat's out the bag now, but he's like, he's being real honest right here. He's like, no matter what I do, it's not going to be enough. Like, I can literally do everything she wants me to do, and it still won't be enough. She'll just want me to do more. Because remember, he's trying to go sit his ass down somewhere. Like, he's got where he's gotten, and he's like, all right, cool. I just need me a chick so we can go sit down somewhere. That's why he's getting on a 40-year-old. I get what he's doing. He's like, yeah, she's old enough where she's, probably postmenopausal, but still young enough to where she's attractive. He ain't trying to have no kids. I get what he's doing. He's trying to go sit his ass down somewhere. And he's realizing, like, well, hell, I just got me another fucking bill. She's trying to run up the damn bank. She's trying to make me get out here and do more. Like, no, Dustin's trying to go sit his ass down somewhere. I already talked about that. But he's also not being stupid because he's gone through a divorce and all that stuff. He's already been there, done that. He ain't trying to go through all that mess. So he's also being reasonable here. He's understanding that, yeah, even if I do that, like, I'm willing to do all this stuff, but it's like, if I do all that, it's not going to be enough. You're still going to want more, like all women do.
Sometimes like I pay a tax for you living here. Like I'm already at a deficit because you're so far away. And it's like I can't pay that financially. I can't put a beautiful pool out there and then overcome like every time you miss home. And you're like, but we have this nice pool. I don't want to spend all of my money to do it.
Until now, it's been polite, like a visitor was in their house. But when they start talking, be right back after this. What do you call someone whose speech may apply? Get a high quality. Now, back to Becky and Dustin.
Are your parents still together?
Now
Yeah.
they're going to talk about her parents.
And what do you remember about them as it relates to money when you were a kid?
Listen carefully.
I mean, my dad worked, ran his own business.
Now,
Uh,
that little giggle laugh she does there, I'm going to come back to that.
My dad ran his own business. My mom pretty much stayed home until I was like 12, and then she went back part-time. My dad pretty much took care of everything.
Why'd you laugh just a second ago?
Because Dustin runs his own business, and I'm my mom, and I just like all of a sudden was like,
You see how she just said that? She's her mom. Now, she's about to lie. She's about to lie here. I just want to point this out before she lies. But the way she did that little nervous giggle, what it is she's actually about to be exposed here because he actually asked a fairly good question talking about her parents. Because she was like, well, hell, I wasn't trying to talk about my parents. I'm trying to talk about this relationship because I'm trying to get this guy to marry me. But she saw the relationship her mom and dad had. And as she talks about it, at least for this part, she's not going to lie too much. But as they talk about it, she's going to make it seem like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was trying to recreate the relationship my mom and dad had. No, she absolutely knew what she was trying to do because she's been trying to do it the entire time. And there's actually a key part that actually happens that relates to what Dustin did earlier. And Dustin himself is going to say, wow, she didn't tell me that about her dad and mom's relationship. So just wait out for that. But she's about to lie here. Big old lie here.
my dad ran his own business. My mom pretty much stayed home until I was like 12, and then she went back part-time. My dad pretty much took care of everything.
Why'd you laugh just a second ago?
Because Dustin runs his own business, and I'm my mom, and I just like all of a sudden was like, oh my gosh, we're like literally like reliving my life.
Okay,
and
I like that.
So yeah.
So what happened?
My dad never said anything explicitly, but he was always like, live below your means. Like they always made a point to let me know that like when they bought a new house, they only bought a house for what they paid, like made on their last house. So they never went and lived like extravagantly. My dad ran a business, and he would always tell me about how he had like $100,000 line of credit at a bank that he'd never touched in 30 years.
So
Okay.
dad was frugal,
So that's
but
good
still had
advice.
the money. Now, mind you, how she relates this to Dustin, but listen also, because mind you, that's a different generation of men. It was finances weren't as strained, nowhere near as strained as they are today. So guys were a little more free with their spending back in the day, if they had it. But listen to what she says about carefully about how her dad responded to her mom, as well as the fact that her mom was also a single mom, which tells you about, the men of old. Now, I still haven't heard whether or not she has kids. Mind you, she's in her 40s, so not sure whether or not she's a single mom and she's following mom's steps or not. They actually didn't say anything about that, whether or not she's been married before or whether or not she has kids. They actually don't talk about that here, which those are actually two fairly important things to at least know.
A new house. They only bought a house for what they paid, like made on their last house. So they never went and lived like extravagantly. My dad ran a business, and he would always tell me about how he had like $100,000 line of credit at a bank that he'd never touched in 30 years.
Okay. So that's good advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
My dad's great.
so, but you mentioned that you've been living above your means for years now.
I'm not gonna say why he's great.
Where'd that come from?
That probably came from my mom. So my mom always probably spent a little bit more. I mean, we always had it, but she would just like squirrel away money all year so that she could like go super over the top at Christmas. I mean, I can remember Christmases that were just like stupid. And she always was like so nervous about money and not having enough money to pay the bills. But we did. So it was like I never really understood why she was like.
She was like that because her dad was smart. Her mom was just as irresponsible as she is, but here's the difference. Her dad was smart enough not to let mom know how much money he actually had. Now, for whatever reason she found out about it, I don't know. I guess, sometimes when you got it, you want to floss a little bit. So I guess he told her about how much they actually had, but mom actually never knew how much dad had. All she knew was she would spend some money. Dad would probably be like, "Oh my God, you ran up. Oh, you spent $5,000, Cheryl. Like, come on, lady. Like, oh, all right, I'll take care of this. But my goodness, that's a lot of money." Now, mind you, dad probably has like $100,000 in the bank. But what it is dad was smart enough to know, because if mom knew they had $100,000 in the bank, mom was going to go spend $150,000. Like, no cap. If mom actually knew how much money they had, not only was she not as stressed like she's trying to claim she was. I don't think mom wasn't stressed like that. She wasn't. But what happened was dad made sure mom didn't know exactly how much money they actually had so they can live frugally. That's what that was. Because if he did, mom was going to do exactly what all women do. Once she knows what the limit is, she is going to stress that motherfucker. If y'all have $100,000 worth to spend, she is going to go spend $100,000.
That because we were never not. I mean, we always had enough money, but she was always like, "Oh, I don't know how I'm going to cover this. I got to move this money from this account, and I got to get cash from this stash that I've put away all year, and I have to do this and I have to do that."
Mom and her
Do you see
personal
any
money.
connection with that and your behavior
Dad
today?
kind of let mom do whatever she wanted with her money, but dad already had the money. Now, the caveat to that is she now knows how men operate when they do that type of thing, when they don't let their spouse know how much money they actually have. So now she's kind of learned, okay, I need to at least know how much my spouse is making. And you remember how I said she's spending like she earns what he earns? That's what she's learned from her mom and dad situation. Now she knows, okay, I need to max it out, and then eventually he'll step in to pay it off like daddy did mommy. So that's where that came in, because she's already spending like she's earning what he earns, even though she's not there yet. But she's already kind of showing like that's the goal. She's learned, okay, I'm not going to be like mom where she doesn't know exactly how much money dad has and dad's got all his money stocked away and mom actually doesn't know how much money she actually has access to. So that's where she learned, like, okay, I need to know how much money that he actually makes, and then I need to be able to spend it. And if I can't, then I'll just the alternative is to run up credit cards, and then he'll pay them off. That's the goal. That's what she's learned. That's the caveat to it. So now she knows, okay, she learned from dad, who did it smart. You don't want to let the female get your wet how much money you make, because as soon as she finds out, she's going to try to max it out because she wants as much benefits as she can get. Absolutely. And then more. And then she's going to ask you to go get more.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize how much Dustin was like my dad. I think that's where that was the laughter epiphany, was like, my dad has a lot of money stashed away, squirreled away. I don't even know if my mom knows how much he has.
And in that relationship of your parents, your mom, nervous energy, saving money, but then overspending. And then who would come to the rescue?
My dad. He paid off all her debt when they first got married.
Oh,
Bingo.
gosh. Any similarities?
that. Didn't know that.
You see right there? You see right there? Wait, that's the part I was talking about where now look at her little nervous little laugh right there. She's like, oh fuck. I just, cat's out the bag now. But now, you see what I'm saying right here? That was the goal, the whole point. That's why she was running up the credit cards like that. Because she knows he has it. And just like he gave her the 2K to pay it off, she was just anticipating, oh, I'll just run it up and then he'll just pay it off again. That's where that was coming in. You remember how I said she was trying to spend like she had his money, even though she did. That's why she was doing that bullshit. Now, she lied a little bit where she was like, she didn't realize the similarities between relationships. I'm like, no, that's a fucking lie. Because the reason that what drew you to Dustin was the similarities with your father, which is why she's trying to do the same thing, except this time, unlike her mother, she knew, okay, I need to at least know where the ceiling is, how much he's making, so that way I know how much debt I can rack up, and then he'll pay it off. So she did lie as well with that.
Never wanted to tell you that.
Look at Dustin's smile. Look at that.
She never wanted to tell him that. Why? That's important. But you see there? Now they're laughing and giggling about it, but I'm like, okay, this literally tells you she's literally trying to deceive this guy into becoming her dad. Which means she can run up the bills knowing how much she can actually make up, how much she can actually max out, because now she knows how much he's making. You see what I'm saying? So that's where that comes into play.
Much he has.
And in that relationship of your parents,
Wanted to tell you that.
look at Dustin's smile. Look at
Tell
that.
you that.
Now that's a big smile right there. Dustin, you've become her father, which is
Worst things to be.
Yeah, Big Dave's an amazing guy.
Yeah, he's good.
okay. So Becky, in your parents' relationship, your dad came to save the day.
Even if she didn't know it consciously, which I'm almost like 99% sure she did know the similarities between their relationship and what she was trying to get done, and her and Dustin and her mother and her father. I'm 99% certain she consciously knew of it. But even if it was that 1% where she subconsciously, it was more of a subconscious decision, she knew to some extent what she was trying to get out of Dustin here. Hey, be okay with me. If I run up these cards, hey, you got the money. You can pay it off. You just gave me that 2K 3 months ago. You got $7,000 in the bank. You can pay it off. She still was subconsciously, even if it, which like I said, she knew. She knew the similarities because that's what she was trying to get out of it. She was trying to get a similar deal that her mom got, but she learned, hey, mom didn't know how much dad made. I'm gonna make sure I at least know how much the guy makes, so I know for certain how much I can actually max out when it comes to this terrible spending habit I have. So she absolutely knew. Don't let her fool you. She knew.
Didn't know that.
I never wanted to tell you that.
Look at Dustin's smile. Look at
Tell
that.
you that.
Now that's a big smile
She
right there.
absolutely knew.
Dustin, you've become her father, which is
Worst things to be.
Now the host does ask a question, if I can actually get to the damn question without this thing messing up constantly. Like I said, there's no reason for this to be doing this. It's just doing this because YouTube wants to fuck with me. There's literally no reason for it to be doing this. But pertaining to the 2K that Dustin gave her, she shows a little bit of her ungratefulness towards it, because the host actually does ask a good question pertaining to it.
My
check to pay off the last of your credit card debt.
So here
How did you interpret that?
I did feel taking. I was annoyed, in all honesty, because he did it because he didn't get me a birthday present.
Now, mind you, he just asked her how it made her feel when he gave her the 2K to pay off her credit card. And this is her reply. This is her honest reply. This is how she felt about that. Just listen to how ungrateful she is.
So 3 days later, he gave me a $2,000 Venmo. because I was pestering him about not getting me a birthday present. So if, in all honesty, in that moment, I was
At
irritated.
least she admits to that. She was pestering him for not getting a birthday present, which, I mean, I don't know. He probably did some other things, like took her out or something. That's probably not what she's not saying. But if it was her birthday, like obviously he did something for her. And obviously one of the things he did for her was the $2,000, which, mind you, that's a lot of money. That's not nothing. But mind you, just look at how ungrateful she is towards it. She's like, "Oh yeah, he just gave me $2K to pay off my credit card debts, but he didn't give me anything." Just listen to that. That's the mindset we're dealing with here. So I just wanted to point that out.
Credit card debt. How did you interpret that?
I did feel I was annoyed, in all honesty, because he did it because he didn't get me a birthday present. So 3 days later, he gave me a $2,000 Venmo because I was pestering him about not getting me a birthday present. So if, in all honesty, in that moment, I was irritated.
She preferred Venmo over cash. Easier to get it in the bank.
Becky, are you seeing the similarities between your parents' relationship and what's going on here?
Yes.
Tell me what you notice. What are the connections you see?
That Dustin's like the reliable one and the steadfast one, and he makes
Body
all the
language.
decisions, and he makes sure we're not going to like go into financial ruin.
This is how she talks
And
about.
I
Look how she just like breezed through it.
spend the money, and then he kind of comes in and, as annoyed as he is, takes care of it because
Yeah,
he cares.
what it is.
Okay.
That's the dynamic that you've
Dustin,
set
is
up.
that an accurate representation of the roles right now?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she knows she doesn't have to worry.
That's exactly what she just said. You're going to be there
To save her.
to make sure everything's okay.
Yep. And that's what she wants. The thing is,
But
she wants the
can I ask a
guarantee of
question to
marriage,
both of
though,
you?
so he's forced to save her.
Are those the roles you both want in your
And
relationship?
that's when she can really max out.
No.
Because if she overdoes it now,
The
he can
clues
leave
are
her.
all around us.
And remember,
Becky
guys,
never
that's the
noticed the
leverage.
similarity
That's what you can
between her
always do.
parents' relationship.
You can
They're
always
terrible at
do.
riding bikes. They still try.
Okay. True.
Y'all want to practice right now?
No, this is the stupid part that I was talking about. So I'm actually gonna skip over some of this. Because they're gonna get into the assets and stuff. But let me see here. I think there might have been something. Oh, Jesus Christ! Come on, Google. I mean YouTube. Come on now. Like, you guys are just ridiculous with this tonight. Like, I don't even know what's going on here, people. Like, I honestly don't know why this thing is doing this. I mean, I know why it's doing this, but this is just ridiculous at this point. Like, no lie, I've reduced the damn settings. My Wi-Fi is working perfectly fine. This is just fucking ridiculous, to be honest. I'm not even broadcasting live. I'm like recording this actually, and that's the crazy part about this. I'm actually recording this,
I'll
so it's
go
not using up
first.
Wi-Fi.
I very much appreciate everything that you've done for us up to this point, and for me. And I know
Now, the host asked her to say positive things.
that it means that you care a lot about me and our relationship. And I don't want you to have to feel that way anymore. And I want to be a better partner so that you can feel more secure in our relationship.
I guess I didn't understand or didn't know if you did appreciate everything I did.
So
So
mind
it's
you,
nice hearing that.
yeah. So
I would-
mind you, he just said something honest right there. He didn't know how much she actually appreciated, because he would do stuff for her, and just the same way how she responded about him giving her the $2,000, just how she responded right there is how she responded in person. Like, oh, you just gave me 2,000 for the pay that thing off, but you still didn't give me anything. Like that. That's her normal response there.
At least you're not on your page and I'm on my page. We'd kind of be on the same page and both have a general understanding of where things are going.
How'd that feel?
Good.
Pretty good.
Looked good. I'm not kidding. It looked awesome. You packed the suitcases for us. That's so cool. And on and on. It could be as small as packing the suitcases, could be as big as I just love waking up next to you. And I hope that this little exercise,
I believe she can do it. Like, I believed in her the whole time.
talk to her.
Now that part right there, you know, he this is why I said, like, yeah, he's actually being pretty darn straightforward. She's been, you know, deceptive, of course, because I already explained why, what she's trying to get out of this. But yeah, he's been pretty straightforward. He's doing this with good intentions. He's thinking, hey, I gave you the, you know, what needs to happen. You know, he's trying to replicate what he's done in his life to get where he is financially, and he's trying to get her on board with that. But the problem is, she's just trying to be like, okay, yeah, you said all that. That's how you got where you are, but you should just be able to take care of all that anyway. She's not trying to change. She wants to be able to spend and splurge like she's currently doing and has been doing all her life. That's her words. And she wants him to finance that, take care of that. That's what she wants. That's what she truly desires. The problem is, what's really frustrating her is she doesn't have the necessary leverage to get him to knuckle under and marry her as she is. That's really what's frustrating her, because that's the only way where she can really run up the bag. She was like, hell, yeah, I could only run up 7,000 in 3 months, but hell, if she was married to him, she's like, oh hell, that 7,000 would have been 17,000 if they were married, because she knows, oh, you got the $60,000 in the bank, you can pay that off.
I've believed in you the whole time. I wish
So now let's
maybe there
jump
was some
into
more
the debt.
openness, so I would have known, like, hey, maybe I need to
They
pick this
actually
up
do
right here,
show their finances,
because if I
income,
don't, we're
and
gonna put it on
debt.
a credit card. Like, I mean, I'd rather pay whatever.
Let's get back to the show.
You mind if we take a look at the numbers? All right. I think it's going to shed a lot of light on what is going on here. To summarize, been together for 4 years. Talked about the credit card debt being paid off. It was paid off earlier this year, but now it's run back up to $7,000. And we're really here because, Becky, you want to know, where's this relationship going? And right now your finances are separate.
Marriage.
You both want to know that you're going to be part of a team. Okay. All right. Let's take a look. Dustin, can you help?
Now, if you watch The Business, he talks about the finances and the differences that men and women take later in life. Men accumulate assets and women accumulate debt. That's how it goes. And obviously, this points out how things are. This is her. She's negative 181,848. He is positive 369,537. I don't think that's actually accurate, but oh no, it's accurate because they actually put their stuff together here, which that's their total together. But separated, this is what it is. That's him, that's her. He is well beyond her.
Help us through the net worth.
But despite this, later on, I want you to listen to how she tries to talk down on him.
Section. Just read the word in bold and read the full number next to it.
Assets, 537,900.
All right. Investments,
30,189.
all right.
In addition to this, they're also going to talk about their incomes. So obviously, yeah, the debts, most of her stuff is student loans. I believe she says it. If I can get to where it does that.
$300
Oh, there you go, Google.
debt. I want to talk about this. Dustin, you have
So his is mainly the house, and he has his business and some money saved away in his, I believe it's maybe his business account. I'm not sure which one it is. Some of his investments. So he's doing like guys typically do. I guess he's middle-aged too. Guys take off from the females. Females tend not to do too well in this regard.
accurate. All right. Becky, what does it feel like to hear those numbers?
Now she's
I
she's
mean,
caught.
it doesn't
She's
feel
caught
great.
behind. We all realize just how drastically different things are between the two of them. It's night and day. And obviously, she's gonna do what females tend to do when it's like, yeah, this isn't flattering on my behalf. Which, she's gonna do her best to just get through it.
What is the $206,000 of debt that you have?
Mostly my student loan.
How long you been paying that off?
I mean, I graduated 7 years ago.
So notice how her face is.
Oh,
Like
And
I said,
I
this is
haven't
her.
been paying
This
for the
is her real
last
face now. Like all the
3 years.
smiling and
So I
giggling,
just made my first payment this month.
all this
How much
energy
payment
that
did you
you're
make?
trying to, that youthful energy
369.
out there.
Okay. How long will it take you to pay it off?
Now this is the real her.
Forever. I mean, I'm on the income-based repayment plan where, after 25 years or whatever, it gets forgiven, and I think you take a tax hit.
All right. And Dustin, what's your $243,000 of debt?
It should just be the house, the remainder of the house, and a truck
What kind of truck?
for the for the business.
That doesn't answer my question. What kind of truck?
F-350.
350? How big is that freaking thing?
It's the
Now
biggest
look
one you
here,
can get.
look here.
Jesus. And
Look at her
what do
response
you do
right
for a living?
Now there's a reason why she's responding this way, and look how that smile right here, because she's been jabbing him about that damn truck. Now, mind you, this is a truck he got. This is his money he used to spend for that truck. But look at how happy she is. It finally got on something that she can really jab that knife in the rib, because she has been fucking with him over this damn truck for the longest. And this guy right here, this is where this guy gets suspect. This host guy, this is where he gets suspect, because I'm like, F-350, yeah, depending on, he literally says he owned a business. He never asked what his business is, ironically. But yeah. So he's gonna explain what this is, or at least what his business is. I think he like builds pools, so he does do some towing. It's useful. F-350 is the towing capacity. It's got the highest I believe towing capacity for a Ford. Ford makes good trucks. So if you need to do, a lot of towing and heavy hauling for his business, it makes sense. Now, this is where it's kind of a red flag for the host, and I'm actually going to tell you why she's so giddy and happy during this part of the broadcast, because it's finally, the spotlight is off of something, all her issues and problems, and now they can finally start to jab and dig into him, because mind you, women and accountability don't go they don't go in the same sentence. So she's like, finally we can talk about one of his so-called fuck ups, which, to be honest, it's not really a fuck up in my book. Like, what he did actually made sense, because they're going to actually talk about it, ironically. But she's been getting on him about that truck, because he went and spent and bought a $65,000 truck. And her only really what her issue is he didn't spend that money on her. That's what her issue was. He had the money to go make that purchase. She was jabbing him like, "Oh my gosh, you made that purchase. You tell me about being frugal." Now, mind you, like I said, it was for his business, but she's been dabbing into that to try to get him to trying to rationalize all her fuck ups, even though it's not the same thing. So that's why she's so happy and giddy here, because she's finally like, yeah, I've been digging into him about that truck and blah, 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 and how he spent so much money on it and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. But really what she is she's upset that he spent the money on her, that he didn't spend the money on her. That's what she's upset. That's what she's upset about. And she's happy because she's finally getting to, I guess, side with the host for a moment and dig into Dustin. Which, like I said, this goes to show you some of that contempt she has, because it's like, how dare you go buy a $65,000 truck and you don't get me something?
A truck.
What kind of truck?
For the for the business.
That doesn't answer my question. What kind of truck?
F-350.
350? How big is that freaking thing?
It's the biggest one you can get.
Jesus. And what do you do for a living?
I build swimming pools, so I haul equipment and whatnot.
Oh, really? How much did you pay?
65.
Which, if you don't
65,000. All
know,
right. We haven't gotten to your income yet.
those trucks can go into six figures.
Assuming you have a very high income, that sounds like a very reasonable purchase. Let's see. Let's pop it up here. I'm in suspense just like you. Income. All right. Gross monthly income. Becky, what's this number here? Your total combined monthly income.
10,333.
That's gross income. That's $124,000 a year. All right. Did you both know that you make $124,000 total per year?
No, that's combined, but that's not accurate.
Yeah.
I think we did.
I thought we made more
And
than
just
that
in case
because
you
I
don't
make
know, this is her.
That's what I want to know.
Sure.
Who makes, hold on, before we go on. One, I legitimately do not know the answer to this. One partner makes $8,333 a month, and the other makes $2,000 a month. Who makes what?
I'm partner one.
You make $8,333 a month?
Host is.
And I have a lot of questions. Dustin, you make $2,000 a month?
All right, so Ramit, we didn't know what
She has more than enough money to handle her debts, which means she's blowing through her money and accruing the debts additionally.
put here.
So that's
I own a
spending habit
business
is
and I
worse than
don't.
what we're being led on to believe. Y'all just thought $7,000 credit card debt. No. She blew through her money first and then accrued up the debt.
But automatically drafted, I automatically draft 2,000 a month.
Now he's talking about how he structured his stuff, which for whatever reason he wants to use. I guess he's financing like a lot of, unfortunately, like some folks who don't get too much stuff structured properly. But for whatever reason, he's doing kind of like what I believe Jeff Bezos and some folks do, where they just do it at the tax limit burden, where you can siphon out like 24,000 a year and it's not taxed because it's below that threshold. So that's the strategy he's using for his business. I assume that he's talked to some folks like a financial planner and tax people. For whatever reason, the host doesn't ask that, but I assume that because they actually do that, and they actually talk about him utilizing that tax benefit. Actually, she does for the truck.
But like, how much does your business make?
I think last year we cleared 150.
So last year they had 150, which is actually pretty good.
We pulled out a bunch of money throughout the year.
So Ramit, the truck.
Yeah, let's start at the truck.
The truck
Now,
we had to.
You see how she wants to look how she's doing the air quotations here, because apparently, yes, he made that purchase and it was actually a smart purchase on his part because he would have had to pay taxes anyway. But it was that tax benefit, that tax code that allows you to write off that vehicle if it's a certain gross vehicle weight, which I understand that. And she also is trying to do the air quotations because she's still trying to minimize it. Like, yeah, it was technically beneficial, but he didn't have to spend all that money on that thing. Like, really what she wanted was for him to buy a vehicle that she could drive too. She has no need for that work truck, which, mind you, is under his business. It was bought for his business. She would have much better liked it if he would have spent a couple $1,000s on her. That's really what she's upset about, and that's why she wanted to get back to the truck, because the truck is really the one thing she can really jab into him on, because he's showing he's capable and able to make those large purchases. She's just not happy with the fact that he did it without her in the picture.
To buy the truck at the end of last year, or else he was going to have to pay taxes.
So there's
Who taught you this extremely poor use of personal finance? Who taught you this?
You just see what the host did right there. That's why I'm suspect with this host, because I'm like, they literally just told you why he bought the truck. It was a tax benefit. He would have had to owe taxes had he not spent it. He probably needed a vehicle because, mind you, when you're doing stuff like that, we got to do construction and stuff. You have to have stuff towed to sites. So if you don't have your own vehicle that can withstand that type of weight and whatever, I don't know what type of materials he has to use, but I'm assuming concrete and stuff, that shit can get heavy. So you needed something that can handle that and handle that day in and day out without breaking down. So the F-350 now makes sense. A lot of sense, actually, because he actually does have to haul those materials, and it was the tax benefit that he utilized Also, I believe you can also break it down over a number of years. You don't have to do it all. You can do it all in that 1 year, or you can break it down over a series of years. So it makes sense from what I'm saying. And for whatever reason, this host, he just jumps to conclusions. And I'm like, apparently this guy, his channel is like, what? I will teach you to be rich, but he apparently doesn't know this loophole, I guess, because if you talk to folks that sell at these dealerships, the high-end dealerships, the folks at the actually, you can look it up on YouTube. There's a guy, he was giving an interview with a salesman for Rolls Royce, and the guy at Rolls Royce, he was like, yeah, like the majority, like almost all of our clients come in here and it's a tax write-off because the Rolls Royce is over that gross vehicle weight. So what the customers do, he's like, yeah, like pretty much all of my clients, they buy it under their business for that tax write-off. So that's like what rich people do. This guy, he did it in more so a business strategy because he actually uses the vehicle to tow and do work for his business. The vehicle is under his business name. That's why I was suspect with this guy, because I was already suspect with some of the shit he was saying earlier. But when it came to this, I was just like, okay, what do you like, dude? Like, he literally just told you like this doesn't make sense to you. Like that's why I'm suspect with him and his advice when it comes to this and what he just said. And I'm just like, that's not actually bad. He just told you what the strategy was. It's actually, he financed it for whatever he I don't know what the down, like I said, they don't ask these things, whatever the down payment was and how he financed it, because you don't actually have to pay the whole 65 to get the write off. You get the truck and you can finance it and you get the write off. Like he probably only put like 25,000 down. You see what I'm saying? Maybe less than that. And like I said, a truck like that for that price, if it was new, that's a hell of a deal. I'm assuming it was possibly used. I'm assuming that because those trucks can easily get up to like damn near six figures. Those damn like 65,000. Like if I were to look it up,
No one, just winging it.
This is like part of the big issue. Dustin graduated high school barely, and
true.
then worked
Now
for a little
listen,
bit and realized
this is her attempt to down. Now, mind you, beware of females that do this shit. He is astronomically more successful than she is, but for whatever reason, women like to have that whole thing where it's like they make it seem like they're achieving even though they're failing. Because remember, we look at the finances. She is absolutely piss poor. She is failing in every regard. Okay, I looked up a F350. It was like a base model, which is like the four-wheel version of it. Looked like it's going for 46,000 new. So those trucks can range, depending on how you do it, the F350 Super Duty, 28,363. That's like the base bare minimum, which that's like the four-wheel version of it, which doesn't tow as much. He got the six-wheel version, which means it tows, but they can get upwards of $83,000. So him getting at 65, actually, that seems fairly fair. And then of course you got to go based off of inventory and what they had, because he did say he would have preferred a four-wheel version, a four-wheel truck, but I guess he could only get wherever he was at the time, he could only get that Super Duty with the six wheels. But for 65,000, I'm like, actually that seems fairly reasonable.
I cannot work for someone else. I am going to
Okay.
work for myself
Okay.
and start a business. And I think he's done better than he really thought he would. And now he
And the reason why I said
I
she's
mean,
talked
when I
down is
met Dustin
because
to buy the truck at the end of last year, or else he was going to have to pay
despite
taxes.
this, her
Who taught you
saying
this extremely
and
poor
despite
use of
that,
personal finance? Who taught
he
you
doesn't
this?
know what the hell he's talking about. She talks down on him by beginning. Look at that smile. You see what I'm saying? This is the smile. She's smiling because the host, for whatever stupid reason, is siding with her because this is the thing, she could finally jab that nail on his side. Because up to this point, he's been right 100% of the time, and she's been the absolute problem. Now she's finally able to flip it. It's like, finally, I'm not the problem here. That's where that smile's coming from. But listen to how she starts this. See, that's the problem. See, let's listen.
No one, just winging it.
this is like part of the big issue.
Yep.
Dustin graduated high school barely,
There's no reason to say that.
and then worked for a little bit and realized I cannot work for someone else. I am going to work for myself, and started a business. And I think he's done better than he really thought he would. And now he when I met Dustin, he had one account, business and personal. He just lived out of that account and kind of did a little bit here and a little bit there. And so now he doesn't know what's the business's money and what's his money. And that leads to a lot of our issues of like,
Dustin does have shortcomings. He does need to properly structure that, but then again, he's white, so the government doesn't hassle him like it would hassle me if I were to do the same thing. But he's getting by like most white guys do get by. They cheat the system a little bit. They don't cross all their T's and dot all their I's, but they're still able to make it through. That's actually very common for guys like this. But the thing is, he should better structure it properly. I don't know. Like I said, for him to have that 2,000 automatically withdrawing, I don't know if he's doing he should be doing his filing properly. Obviously, he is, because he knew about certain tax write-offs and breaks and advantages. So he's talking to some tax person that's helping him with his taxes, and he's getting by. But mind you, like I said, this is her one moment where she can finally grill into him about it. And of course, the host, he just, for whatever reason, he just doesn't know for some reason.
I don't really know how much money we have, because sometimes it sounds like we have a lot and sometimes it doesn't sound like we have any.
I'm so confused. Like, I have so many questions. First of all, the way you talk about money.
She absolutely knows.
Becky, I'm talking to you.
Yes.
You talk about money like you don't make that much money. Do you know that?
I never realized it.
Yeah, you talk about money like
feel like I make that much money.
You make almost $100,000.
Now she means that, what she just said. Like, look at that face. He's calling her out like, yeah, you're not broke. You actually make more than enough money to like pay off all your debts and everything. Like, that's what the host is pretty much saying here. He's like, yeah, you're not broke. You're actually making a good chunk of money. But she's like, yeah, that's not enough. And this goes right back to what Dustin was saying. Like, yeah, I could buy all this stuff and do all this stuff, but I just feel like it's not enough. And yeah, this is that insatiability. This is how terrible she really is with finances.
$1 a year. And the way you live in North Carolina. And I don't think you pay rent, right?
Mm-mm.
So the way you talk about money is completely at odds with the numbers on the page. You are living an old story. It's striking. I'm frankly shocked when I found out that 8,333 is yours, because the way that Dustin talks about money is like way more confident, and it's like, we shouldn't be traveling. We have boundaries, and on and on and on. And when I hear somebody making $8,300 a month and they have debt, I'm like, okay, just pay it off. Especially with your cost of living, like, let's solve the problem. We could literally knock this thing out in 2 months. I'm candidly surprised. Now, Dustin, what the man? Explain to me how you can afford a $65,000 truck.
The funny thing is, he literally just explained it, and she helped. Yeah, it's for the business. It's under his business. This is what Dustin's about to say. But the way the host grills into him, I'm like, apparently this host doesn't understand what, this tax break, how it's used for business and all this stuff. And obviously he doesn't have all the finances on Dustin, which is smart. Now I think about it, the fact that Dustin didn't put all his finances on that sheet, that was smart. Remember what I said earlier about Becky and her parents? Daddy made sure that her mom didn't know how much money they had, because she would have spent it. So that's actually smart. Now I think about it, actually Dustin's coming off as pretty damn smart here. He's not that, he doesn't come off as stupid at all. He's actually pretty damn smart here, if he did that on purpose. And now I think about it, I'm like, you know what? He probably did do that on purpose, because he purposely didn't put all the finances on his business on that sheet. So they actually don't know how much money he really has, other than the savings and all that stuff. And mind you, He already blows her out the water with that. So the income, they actually don't know all the income on Dustin, which is smart.
Please.
It's the business bought it.
The business made $150,000.
Clear.
How can a business making $150,000 paying you no salary at $150K? How can that business afford a $65,000 truck?
Easy. You put about $10,000 to $15,000 down. You take the tax write-off because you would have had to pay taxes otherwise. Now you don't have to pay as much taxes, if any taxes, because of the write-off, and you now have a new truck that you use for your business. It's not that difficult to understand. I mean, I'm in trucking and I know this, but obviously because I'm in trucking, that's how we work. The business is over here. But the fact that this host guy doesn't know that, I'm like, that's what makes me suspect with him, because it's very clear he uses the truck for business. Yes, he probably uses it for a little personal too, but he uses the truck for business. It's a legit purchase. It's under his business's name. His business purchased the truck. They grossed 150. He doesn't have to put the whole 65 down. Now, he can get the whole 65 tax credit if he wants to, but he doesn't have to actually put up 65,000 cash to get the tax credit and everything. He only had to put the down payment down, which might have been 10, 15,000. You see what I'm saying? He grossed 150. The business did. The business is paying him 24,000, similar to what Jeff Bezos does, where his assets and net worth, Jeff Bezos, it's in the stocks. I think Jeff Bezos does a similar thing where he only pays himself 24 or whatever that number is. I think it's like 25,000 and some change a year because it's tax free. I think someone else hired themselves as CEO for like $1 because it was another CEO of one of those other large companies. It might have been, was it Elon Musk? It might have been Elon Musk. I'm not sure, but they paid themselves $1 as the CEO of the company, multi-million-dollar company, probably billion now, but because for the tax benefit, because otherwise it would have just been taxed, because all their net worth, they do that other strategy where they use their stock and they take loans out. That's their strategy. But like I said, I don't know why this guy doesn't know that. His thing is, I will teach you to be rich, and I don't know why he doesn't know that, and why he's siding with Becky for whatever reason here, because it makes now, mind you, this is the one thing that Becky can actually dig into Dustin over, and for whatever reason, this guy's feigning ignorance or whatever just to side with Becky for this one little moment.
I don't know. It's doing it.
Who told you that? Chet, your friendly local North Carolina Ford dealer? What do you say?
No.
Come on in here, Dustin. What kind of payment you want to make? You want to pay $600 a month? I can't do $600, but you're a good friend. I'll tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and give you $650 a month. It's going to be a 96-month loan at 7.5%. Yeah, your interest is credit isn't that good, but you know what? Something special for you. I'm going to throw in the floor mats. All for you.
I wish that truck was $650 a month.
How much? Oh yeah, it's way more. How much
is the payment?
Yeah,
$1,450.
You're the one who's paying $1,450 on a truck.
Now look here. Like I said, this is the one thing he can dig in. Now, mind you, she's just happy here because she's like, finally, we get to dig into him on something. Because remember, she has that uppity energy. She's like, I'm the college educated one. I should be the smart one. Therefore, it kind of also plays into that dynamic of why she's feeling the way she's feeling. She's like, okay, you're not as educated as I am. So therefore, a little bit of that entitlement, like you should take me as I am, despite the fact she literally has no leverage. So that also plays into that dynamic. But again, this is the one thing they can dig into Dustin on, which honestly, it's not something they can dig into him on because they already told the reason why it was affordable and everything. Not to mention the fact, if you take that truck, 65,000, right? Divide that by 10 years. Those trucks can actually last pretty good a good long time. But you know what? I'm gonna be a little generous. I'm just gonna say maybe the truck only lasts 5 years, and it needs some repairs after 5 years. That's $13,000 a year. That's $13,000. Now you get the truck for 65,000. Of course, there's gonna be interest and everything, but I'm just saying like over the use of 5 years, I'm assuming you'll be able to use that truck for 5 years. Now I would have said 10 years, so you actually divide that in half. Um, if you just because that's how trucks are, they you can use them as long as you take care of them. You can actually get them to use it for about 10 years. But I was like, oh, let me just do 5 years. That's $13,000 a year for a company that grosses 150, and they get the tax write off for that 65,000. So what's the issue here?
Plus gas.
More than our mortgage.
Oh yeah.
Explain this to me. How much you spend in gas per month?
Oh, I'd have to look it up on the. I spent
Now, mind
$200
you,
over 200.
I drive tractor trailers. 1,400 a month? No. How about getting a truck that's 6 figures, interest rates as they are? Yeah, you're paying that a week. That's a weekly note on the types of trucks that I buy. I mean, not buy, but drive. I will be buying in the future, but right now I just drive them. So on the trucks that I drive, the big ones, the really big boys, the real trucks, yeah, that 1,400 is weekly. But guess what? The trucks can gross anywhere from 4 to however much a week. So it pays for itself if you're working it. So if he's working the truck like he's supposed to, it pays for itself because he doesn't have to pay people to have to go and tow the materials to his work sites because that costs money. Yeah, there's this thing called actually even if he wants to, he can also hot shot now since he has the vehicle. You don't need a CDL for that. So he can also make additional money if he desires to with that truck. That truck is very useful for making money, which it's already for his business, making him money, saving him money. It's already a tax write-off. He doesn't have to pay people to tow things because now he has the vehicle to maneuver things. And if he takes care of that vehicle right, it can easily last him 10 years. That's 10 years of service. He doesn't have to pay people to hotshot his materials or none of that. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars, people. To get people like if he didn't have that truck, you have to pay someone, okay, hey, I need these materials at this site. He would then have to pay someone to get the materials from wherever he gets the materials from to his work sites every time. But now he has his own vehicle that can do that. He doesn't have to worry about that. He can do it himself. That saves money. It makes sense.
$100 on Monday to fill up some of the work truck.
And do you love your truck?
I mean, I didn't want a dually.
What's that?
It's just a dually. I'd want a regular truck
His
What's a
his truck has 6 tires, Ramit.
instead of 4.
See here, so he bought the truck, and even the truck he got was for business purposes. So he didn't just go and like buy his dream truck because he already told you like, yeah, that actually isn't the truck I would have preferred, but that's what I had to get.
100 episodes of this podcast. This was literally the first time my video cut out on me. And I think it's because I encountered someone who makes $24,000 a year and bought an F350 with 6 tires and a $1,450 monthly payment, including $200 in gas he filled up this Monday.
That's very deceptive because, like I said, they don't know exactly how much he's not contributing the income for the business. This is his personal income. That has nothing to do with the truck. The business bought the truck. He literally just already said that. So that, like I said, that's why I'm like iffy with this host because I'm like, you're being very deceptive here. I don't know if he's intentionally doing this to kind of alleviate the pressure off of Becky or whatever, but I'm like, yeah, you're being real deceptive here as the host.
Why are you still putting things
explain this to me.
How much you $4,000 a year and bought an F-350 with.
So yeah, there's that. Now, obviously, there's a lot of deception there, a lot of deceit to kind of dissect there. But I just wanted to like talk about some of the stuff. Like I can actually very closely relate to those issues when it comes to the finances, and I see what Dustin was doing because that was exactly the same thing I was doing with my spouse. Hey, you want to get the you said you want to get here. Well, for us to get to you know, E, we have to do A, B, and C first. There's steps to get there. And that's exactly the same thing I was doing with my spouse. I was laying the groundworks. I was seeing, hey, there needs to be some polish here and there. But notice how she was trying to do that thing where she was trying to be like, oh, I shouldn't have to be perfect and I don't need to change. But the thing is, he already laid the rules. Even she said that, like, yeah, he did say this and say that. And yeah, and if that doesn't happen, I guess I got to leave. Yeah, you got to leave. But guess what? She's still there. So the ball is absolutely 1000% in Dustin's court. Whatever he wants and desires, which to be honest, it's all reasonable. It's not like he's not even really abusing his power. At least not from what we get from that video. He's not abusing his power whatsoever. He's actually being very reasonable. Very. And the host, for whatever reason, makes, I don't know, questionable. Some questions make no sense. But I guess he asked a couple of mushy questions. I skipped over that one, but I was like, And then the truck thing at the end, I really didn't understand why he doesn't understand that. I mean, you're supposed to have a podcast that's literally titled "I Will Teach You to Be Rich," yet you're not aware of one of the most useful tax strategies that rich folks usually utilize. Yes, Dustin's not doing it properly. He should have the proper bank accounts, even though he does have one checking and one business account. At least he's doing that, but he should better structure how he's getting paid through his business and everything. But then again, like I said, he's white, so they don't really audit folks like him like that. So there's also that. So he's getting by, but I don't, there's a lot of weirdness. But the main part of it is she is clearly the major issue. And to be honest, if I was Dustin, to be honest, what's the point in getting married? What's the point? There's literally no point in getting married at all. They could be long-term relationship. They could do all that fun stuff that they want to do, but there's literally, now mind you, like I said, Dustin is trying to sit his ass down. He is. He's been out here competing and doing all that, but he's gotten to the point where he's like, all right, cool, I done enough. He's trying to sit his ass down. I see what he's doing, and she's up here trying to pretty much get the golden goose. That's what she's trying to do. She's trying to replicate what her daddy did with mommy. She could run up them bills and he pay it off. That's what she's trying to do. But this time she understand her mom's error where she was like, okay, I at least need to know how much he's making so that way I know I can max out the most. And that's exactly what she did. That's why she ran up that credit card after Dustin helped pay it off. That's just her nature. And it's not going to change. And because of that, Dustin should continue to do what he's doing. Hey, you haven't made the necessary changes. We're not getting married. That's it. It's final. Because she's not going to stop pressuring, and she's going to eventually try to play that card hoping that it works, but then eventually she'll crawl back because Dustin is her best option. So she'll probably play that card and actually leave him, but eventually once she realizes fuck, no one else is biting, she's in too much debt, she'll crawl back eventually. And Dustin, what I will say is, like, continue being honest, because I did get that from him. Continue doing that. Continue doing what you're doing. I can't tell another man who's he's doing his thing. If he wants to sit down, that's he has the right to do that. Everybody has their limit. Apparently, where Dustin at, that's it. That's his limit. That's where he's comfortable with, and by all means, he can do that. If it was me, I'd just continue growing and doing more. But like I said, that's his choice. He's comfortable where he's at, and he has every right to be. So if I was him, there's literally no reason to get married. If Becky isn't willing to get on board with what you're trying to do there, like, dude, there's a lot of females out here. I get it. She clicked with you, but I just want to tell you right now, some of what she said might have been a lie. I get a lot of lying and deception out of her. So I know there's some things that you think that y'all clicked on, but I'm just telling you right now, she's saying and probably doing things that she knows you want to hear and for her to do. But just like you helped pay that credit card off and she ran it right back up, just like she did that, knowing to an extent what the ramifications of that were. Um, yeah, there's no point in you taking that risk because she knows what she's doing. She's aware of that. She absolutely is. She's not ignorant. She's very well aware of that. There's a reason why she's withholding her finances from you. She's very well of that. So, A, keep it going. Just, yeah, I agree. Dustin, keep doing what you're doing. Don't marry her until she's shown certain. To be honest, I just say don't do it at all. If can I just be fair? To be honest, I get it. Just Dustin's trying to be too. He's trying to be too good. I get what he's doing. He understands that that women do value that for a reason, obviously, to get married, for a reason, obviously. But Dustin, like, I get it. You're trying to be the good guy here. I get it. You want to do things the right way. But let's just be real, dude. You don't have to. You can have a long-term girlfriend. You don't have to marry a woman for her to stick around and be a long-term girlfriend or any of that. You really don't. So I wish he would get that out of his head. And well, hell, he probably already does. I don't know. Like I said, he seems a little smarter than what we think on here, but he probably already has that in mind. But at the same time, she's failed the few tests that he's had for her to right the ship when it comes to financial literacy and responsibility, and she has not made any efforts to really change in that regard. So things should maintain the way they are through perpetuity. So thank you for watching. Sorry for the delays and stuff. That's just YouTube messing with me. This one was pretty damn long. Jesus Christ. But I could relate to this one. I saw some of the deception being used. I saw some of that guilting language, some of that pressuring into don't let anyone pressure you into something, try to rush you into something. The timelines seem to get shorter and shorter for things. Like don't fall for that crap, whether you're male or female, because oftentimes the outcomes aren't favorable to you or aren't as favorable as they could be. In Dustin's case, he doesn't need to marry her at all. She is a death trap. I mean, her current debts aren't going nowhere. She's not made any significant efforts to really pay them off like that. I mean, look at how long it took her. She makes damn near $100,000 a year. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more. And she couldn't pay off $7,000 on a credit card because she's blowing through her damn money so fast. So, yeah, I'm just telling you right now, it's a no go for me. She's in her 40s. She's set in her ways, heavily set in her ways. She got it from her mom. She even related that to her current relationship. It's not going to change. She's looking for someone to treat her like her dad treated her mom. She'd run up the bills, and daddy would come pay him off. So, thank you for watching. If you stuck through this long enough, Jesus, I apologize for the delays and stuff. YouTube fucking with me. But again, thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of that. Until next time, folks. This has been The Reflex.